One of the absolute most important times as you get ready for football in exactly 40 days. The Philadelphia Eagles, because they're going to Brazil, just like the Hall of Fame game, with Houston, and I forget who else is going to be in that game. They're allowed to show up to training camp a little earlier because they have to make the preparations to go to Brazil. So you're going to be a week earlier than you normally are on July 27th. So you're around 40 days away from the start of training camp. Do you understand what that means? You're a month and a week away from the start of NFL training camp. Are you ready? Is your roster ready? Are you ready? Oh, and by the way, before we get going, we always do this. Big Sills! I think this is one of the greatest times in the world to talk football. Do you know how many shows around right now struggle for content? Never here because of what you guys bring to the show. We are locked and loaded. By the way, there could be an admission here today. 88 days away to September 6th, that Friday game against the Packers in Brazil. Folks, do me a favor. We are trying to get to 200 likes as we always do. Please hit the like button. And we appreciate you guys coming here because we know there's so many options out there. Thank you, senor. I appreciate it. Guys, I want to look at two sides here on something. You might be right, some of you. You might be right. Joe Douglas and the Jets are getting murdered right now in the media for this Hassan Reddick deal. They're getting murdered. Now, I don't know if he shows up to mandatory minicamp tomorrow, but they're getting murdered. So, and here's why. Joe Douglas traded for a player who was having contract issues in Philadelphia. Howie moved the guy in an issue he didn't want to address. And I think there's two sides to this. Hang on. Before you guys start barking, I told you so. Just listen to me here. Let's tell the story and then make our opinions, okay? What they did was Howie had an issue that he didn't want to address. So he pushed it off on the Eagles, and he just wanted that out of his locker room and out of his hair. And that's why there was no real return in investment. I wonder in the negotiations, Joe Douglas said, we're not going to offer him a new deal. And Howie just said, I'll tell you what, I'll take a draft pick in the future for him. I just want to get him out of here. He doesn't want to be here. We signed Huff, his guy. And Joe Douglas said, okay. Okay, Joe Douglas said, okay. But now, Joe Douglas and the Jets are getting killed because, you know why? There's no contract extension. And Reddick's problems just moved up 95. They really weren't resolved. So he's now, instead of bitching at the Eagles, he's bitching at the New York Jets on a brand new contract. Nothing's changed really in his camp. Now, on the Eagles side of this, okay, is it a gamble to have signed Huff? Yes. Is it a gamble to have moved off of Reddick? Absolutely. But with a locker room that's had all kind of discord coming off of last year's disastrous collapse, maybe he didn't want that issue also in the locker room. And he didn't want to make Vic Fangio's job tougher. And Vic even said, I'm good moving off him. So, I mean, at the end of the day here, the only way that this is going to be resolved in who got the better end of it is going to be if Reddick reports, Reddick has 18 sacks, the Jets win. He doesn't report and he doesn't play. And he is a constant distraction and doesn't perform to those double-digit sacks in New York. The Eagles were right to get out of that deal. There's two sides to look at this right here. And it's playing its head out more that Hassan Reddick's agent has been the number one culprit in this whole deal. He put out false narratives that there was a giant market out there for him, Arizona and Baltimore. Remember, and I think Atlanta was another team that was supposed to be in the mix. There was no such market for him. Nobody has offered him 20. Dude, don't you think if somebody would have offered him 20, he's making 15 now, he would have took it. He would have took it. Instead, he's gambled. This is the final year of his contract. He doesn't show up to mandatory minicamp with the Jets. He starts getting fined. I think it's $50,000 a practice. I mean, so, including me beating Howie up over this. Hey, maybe guess what? You guys are right. Pump the brakes. Let's see how this thing plays out. Remember I told you there's not a chance in hell he would have held out. Well, we'll know tomorrow. We'll know tomorrow because he'll put in the Jets' pockets $150,000 if he doesn't show up to that 3-day mandatory minicamp for New York and Robert Saleh. And they're going to need that guy pass rushing. Or do the Jets deal him? Dude, I don't see anybody in the National Football League coming to the defense of Hassan Reddick's agent saying that Reddick has a market of $20 million. He doesn't. Seriously, and I agree with you, Flexen. We're going to find out more tomorrow. We're going to find out more tomorrow. If he doesn't show up, was it the right move for the Eagles to get rid of Hassan Reddick and not have that problem in the locker room? Was his problem going to be more than his production? Let's put it on the Jimmy Johnson scale of production and problem. Would you have sat around with the problem a little more, knowing that he's going to get you 12 to 15 sacks? I may have. I may have done that. But depending on what kind of problem. Remember, all of this stuff started with Reddick's agent and Hassan Reddick. Remember Howie Roseman even addressed it. I forget, Prince and some of the rest of you guys, I think it was at the Combines, somebody asked the question, who came to Howie first? Who came to who first? I think it was something like that when it came to Reddick's deal. And Howie just off the cuff goes, the agent brought it to us. And who said that? Steve says it. Howie correctly read the room. It's starting to shape up that way. It's starting to shape up that way. I'm included in the media part of that. It's killed him for it. Because how do you get rid of 27 sacks? Well, when you got a coach right now that's on a hot seat, and you got all other kind of issues coming off that 03 or that 23 nuclear meltdown, there is no question you don't want any other shit in your locker room. Bob says, Sills, do not forget, Reddick said something. Someone thinks I should drop in coverage. That was during the season last year. And then he was also referencing to somebody upstairs, I only do what they say upstairs. Okay, I mean, hey, Stevens, you may be angling this thing in the right room here that how we read the room right. Hey, I don't want this in my locker room. As talented as the player is, okay, as talented as the player is, I really don't want that problem in my locker room. Hey, I'd rather get that problem out of my locker room June 10th than have it July 22nd when we report to training camp, okay? You know what I'm saying? I don't want any shit like that. I've got to get this thing turned around, and especially after last year's it was a mental meltdown. I don't know so much as a physical meltdown, but it was a mental meltdown. And I don't think you can have that shit in your locker room. Eduardo, he may have read the room right because now Joe Douglas and the Jets, Boomer Esiason and Gio, who do the morning show on WFAN, are killing Joe Douglas for this. Why would you make a deal with a player who wasn't going to have his contract resolved? Did you think that was just going to go away because he's a Jet? That's not how this is panned out here. Nobody in New York is happy with how this whole thing got pushed onto the Jets. Howie pushed a problem off the roster. As talented as the player is that the right thing to do? Again, we won't know until the end of the season how this thing plays out, who got the better end of it. Who knows what that draft pick's going to look like in 2 drafts from now also. We won't know until then. However, I'm okay right now on June 10th not having something like that in my locker room. And am I starting to believe that Hassan Reddick would have held out? Yes, I believe it more now that he wouldn't have went down the Javon Hargrave road. Hey, Sills, come rock with you because the other options are filled with yes men instead of doing the diligent steps you take. You actually care. Thank you so much, Ace. I was just telling Xander that. Dude, I implore you to go listen to some of those other shows. You'll be here. Those other shows are unlistenable or unwatchable. I have no issue saying that. I used to say that when I was on the radio all the time. I have no problems. You see, people think it's a downtime. I love this time. We separate from the losers. What up, Madness? I appreciate it. So I got to give you. Sills, would you trade for Judon? I think he fits the skill set of what Nick likes. And what else I also like about Judon, Kyle, the kid who plays up in New England, or did play in New England, he was coached by Belichick. So he understands responsibilities. And what is the most important thing that Judon brings to a team? You know what he brings, Kyle? He brings flexibility. He's a chameleon. You can put his hand in the dirt and you can stand him up, which means you can play him in a 43 or you can play him in a 34. So, yes, he fits exactly what Vic is trying to do. Devin White wants to be an Eagle. It seems so. Okay? I mean, Sills, if Reddick was still in Philly, you would have had tons of material to discuss. Because he would dude, I'm starting to think, though, Bob, he would have held out. And some of you were right on that. Dan Sileo, Trent Williams unhappy with his contract. Should the Eagles get him? You're talking about a $25 million guy, and you want to hear something, Rat? No. I'm happy with Mailata versus a 37, 36-year-old Trent Williams. I've got more upside with Mailata. Mailata's ranked the 3rd best left tackle, and he's 26. Versus a 36-year-old guy, I'll hang in there with Mailata. Trent is a Hall of Fame player. I get it. But I think Mailata can put himself in a conversation where he'll go down as one of the greatest Eagles of all time. And you got him at a great deal, and you've got him locked up, and you've got that entire left side locked up. I would not trade Jordan Mailata for Trent Williams. I would not do that. Why would I help the Niners get younger? Thank you for the brutal honesty. Keep it real. Thank you so much, Jersey. I appreciate it, brother. Isn't that crazy? Flexen goes, he's the best. Yes, for 2 years. I'll take Mailata for a decade. Yes, you're right. You're right. I'm not trading Jordan Mailata for Trent Williams. That's like, you see Dan Hurley deciding if to take the Laker job. Why would he take a job knowing full well that LeBron could play one more season or another? Who do you have? Anthony Davis? And then what? You know, in the last 10 years, I think the Lakers have had 150-win season. Why would he leave UConn? Now they're going to try to make a run at Jay Wright if he doesn't take the job. Why would Jay Wright take that Laker job? If I'm Jay Wright, I'd take that UConn job before I'd take that Laker job. It's a better gig. I could stay in stores for the next decade making $5 million a year, playing for national championships, and my market value as a coach is high. Why in the world would I take a job that in the last 10 years the Lakers have blown out loud outside of that Disney Cup they won? Why would you do that? Okay? Jay Wright doesn't fit the pros. I think Jay Wright fits any place that coaches fit because I love him. Seals, the issues with Reddick will cause in New York are nothing compared to the issues that would have happened in Philadelphia after Reddick gave Howie the hometown discount. It would have been a train wreck. Bob, Hassan Reddick had no other opportunity but to give the Eagles a hometown discount. He had just been released by Carolina. It wasn't like he was traded to Philly. People forget something about Reddick. It's just as they do with Bradbury. Those guys were cut. They weren't traded for. It's not like Gardner Johnson has not been cut. Now, the Lions moved off him. So that's kind of like pseudo being shown the door. Every place he has left, Reddick has been pretty much allowed to walk out the door with no compensation. Cardinals, Carolina, and the Eagles got a potential decent pick 2 years from now. Okay? I'm hoping a good edge is cut that we can pick up. There'll be salary cap ramifications here over the next couple weeks. You should keep an eye on that Joey Bosa thing that's going on in Los Angeles with the Chargers. Keep an eye on that, okay? Please hit the like button, guys. We're trying to get to 200 likes. Hassan earned a pay raise. He did? That's another thing too, Prince. Dude, he gave you over 30 sacks counting the postseason. He gave you over 30 sacks. How don't you reward him? But Howie looks at it differently here with this. He's like, I'll take the younger. It's a bigger gamble, bigger risk, less headache. That's how he looked at Bryce Huff. Less headache. The guy's willing to drop in coverage, and he's more coachable. That's how he looked at it. I can't begrudge him for looking at it that way. Okay? Hey, Flexin, fuck you. If I misread it, relax, kid. Relax. Give me a break. I'm reading the chat and I'm talking about the topics at the same time. Give me a break. Okay? Christ almighty. Holy cow. Seriously, man. What do you work at the UN? Reddick made some mistakes. Flexin. Hey, Flexin, I'm not that tough. Got him. Hey, congratulations. Now you can go into your room by yourself there, Brandon, and you can go take care of your business like LJ, and you and him can go pleasure yourselves. Congratulations. What a win. Holy cow. I made Sills upset. Congratulations. Man, my wife doesn't even give a shit that she makes me upset, but you do. Think about that. My wife could care less, but you care. Sills, what worries me about Joey Bosa is his history with injuries. Absolutely. Sills is off his rocker today. No, I'm never off my rocker. What is going on? Prince, all good, man. All right. We're going to get into the topics here now. Hey, man, you know what? Hey, guys, how much do you care about this Caitlyn Clark before we get into the topics? How much do we care? Love you too, Fatso. Oh, Flex. Okay. All right. Bosa is made of glass. He is. Thank you, Flex, and you're cool. How much do you care about this Caitlyn Clark thing not making the Olympic team? How much? Love you too, Fatso. Hey, but just so you know, hey, Flexin, just so you know, I was talking about being an astronaut when over the weekend with my wife, and we were talking about the Apollo missions, right? My wife goes, "Are you going to the moon by yourself? Because there's not a chance in hell you're going to fit in that capsule." Just so you know the kind of house I have too. Okay? Just so you know. My wife goes, "What, are you going to the moon by yourself? There's not a chance two other guys are fitting in that capsule with you, homie." The WNBA is stupid, totally stupid. You know what the big conversation is now? Who are you going to take off the team? Does it matter? Does it matter? It doesn't matter. You missed a golden opportunity to promote your sport more. So I'm going to take this to you, but I'm not going to spend a lot of time. I'm just going to say this. Hey, girls, don't ever bitch to me about your salaries being $37,000 or whatever it is. Don't ever talk about equal pay when you're not willing to expand the sport. You had 28 years, Diana Taurasi, all those great players, to expand your sport, and you never did. All those great players didn't do anything but make the WNBA a gas-guzzling sieve of a league where they lost money every year for 28 years. Now you have a chance to turn the fortunes around, and you're too blind. Get this, guys. Here's something to say this about Larry Bird. You know how they're trying to compare this situation to Christian Laettner going on that Olympic team back in the 92 Dream Team? It wasn't Christian Laettner that people should have been bitching about. The guy who didn't belong on that team was Larry Bird. Larry Bird didn't belong on that team. He never practiced. He barely played. But why did they put Bird on that team? To influence people around the world to watch NBA basketball, because there's one of the biggest signature names of all time. He was a shell of himself. And if you look at today's players in the league, who are arguably the two best players in the league? Joker and Luka. And maybe even Giannis. They're all European, and they all play like Bird. They're not vertical. You think Luka and the Joker are vertical? They're not vertical players. Bird wasn't a vertical player. He could barely jump. They all resemble the play of Larry Bird. Okay? I mean, at the end of the day, who gives a shit who's on that Olympic team? You could have really done more for it. Hey, how do you think Comcast and NBC are feeling that she's not on it? Happy or sad? Will I watch it? Maybe. If she was on it, I would totally watch it. I'm watching tonight's game. So just stupid. I've never seen a league more in my life have more professional jealousy than the WNBA. You deserve what you get, man, with all the heat you're getting. It's a stupid decision. All right. I appreciate everybody coming aboard. Please hit the like button. All right. Now, let's do something here on this Monday. I found it odd, and I got this topic from Xander this morning on Birds 365. I heard Xander say this. I loved it, and I kind of questioned it. So, how optimistic are you about this coming season for the Philadelphia Eagles? By the way, we're going to take a look at the brand new depth chart that's out, and I think some of you are going to be shocked. Okay? Hey, C24, he doesn't get it either. She's been propped up. Well, if 24,000 fans in D.C. is being propped up, well, I'll take propped up instead of playing in front of 4,200 people. C24 wants WNBA girls because the right thing to do is to put a 42-year-old Diana Taurasi on it where no one cares versus somebody who fills arenas like they're Taylor Swift. You're missing it, guy. You're totally missing it. She's not hyped up. She's delivering. 24,000 fans showed up for her last game. Well, hey, C24, well, then sell it. Take advantage of it. So, not debating it. You're an idiot. How many wins? Bob says 10. 10? I think, hey, Ultra, she should go to Big 3. See how that works out. Then she could send that league back to the abyss. How many wins do you think that football team has? I'm optimistic. I'm very optimistic. LJ says 13. 13 wins. Okay. 8 to 9 wins. 13 wins easily. So I heard Xander say this. Now, let's do this. Can two things be true? And I heard him, and he's not the only one doing this. Every single person in the Philadelphia media is doing this. I see 12 wins. I got you 11 most. So the Eagles fans are optimistic about the potential on defense and helmets and shorts. Then they turn around and say the same comment of this. But not worried about the offensive struggles and OTAs and in the mandatory minicamp. You're not worried about the offense, but you're more optimistic about the potential in helmets and shorts. Is this what you want to hear? Are you telling yourselves things you just want to hear? Because it sounds it. On one hand, you like what you see in helmets and shorts with the young players and the other potential players. On the other hand, you see the guys who are the most veteran side of the ball, who make the most money, who should give a shit more, and that doesn't concern you. How can both be true? Or can they be true? Can they be true? Prince goes like this. So you're not worried at all. Well, then you still are worried about the defense, right, Prince? So then you're still worried about the defense, right? So you're still worried about the defense. Okay. So you didn't really, with all the great conversation that was coming out of training camp and all the conversations. And by the way, I looked at it different. I looked at it different than what you guys did. It had nothing to do with anything when it came to contact. I wanted to know who they were working out more. I wanted to know what kind of fronts they were in. I wanted to see what Vic was installing. Looks like what John McMullen reported on Birds 365, that about 69 to 71% of the time they're going to be in a forefront or bare front. Looks to be true. Okay. One thing has definitely come out of camp. You know what it is that nobody's reported on? They are completely 1,000%. They have moved Josh Sweat to the rear with the gear. Something has happened with him. They are cold on him now. He is not thought of as a frontline guy in that organization any longer. Okay? He is not. Eduardo goes, what's a bare front? It's a 5 front. Okay? JM, they could be thinking because of that catastrophic high school injury that he's aging like a dog. And at 28 years old or whatever he is, 27 years old, they may be thinking this guy's got 1 or 2 years left of productivity. They restructured Sweat's deal. They sure did. So they can get cap and they can reduce that money in case they had to move him or cut him. I got to tell you, man, I think Josh Sweat's got 1 more year in Philly and he's out. He's not even a starter right now. And here's a guy 2 years ago had 11 sacks. He's not even starting right now when it comes to their depth chart. They've clearly moved off him. So here, I listen to this, and I'm hearing people go, hey, man, so much potential. So much potential on the defense. Potential is a word that I keep telling you. You haven't done it yet. It's a code word. It's a mask word. It's a word that makes you feel good when it's unknown. You see, the word is really unknown. Potential and unknown are the same. They're the same, but what makes you feel better? Hey, that team's got a lot of unknown. Hey, that team's got a lot of potential. Makes you feel better about what you're watching because it puts you more in an optimistic view. I'm not saying that's bad. You say that about every player, coach, and front office staff, according to Sills, everyone is gone by week 5. No, that's not what I say. I'm saying that Josh Sweat is no longer thought of in the eyes of the coaches right now as a frontline dude. He's been delegated to backup. Not my words. Sills, we had the most predictable offense last year, and we're top 8. The defense was the biggest issue, and that's why I keep saying has to dominate this year. Okay? Sills, consider this. Sweat and Reddick were tight. Sweat sees how Reddick was handled. New players brought in to replace him. He's probably salty, and that doesn't work well under Howie. Well, he knows he's next because they moved off of Reddick. Sweat's next. Sweat's next. There was conversation this past offseason about potentially them moving him. Sills, what's the earliest Sidney Brown can play? ACL injuries, at least 1 year, right? David, that's not the case for everybody. And David, I've never seen in my life how today's technology can get you back on a football field, whether it's an Achilles injury, an ACL, MCL. I've never seen anything like it. The modern day medicine that we see today in the National Football League and at the college level, I got to tell you, man, they get these guys on the field quicker. And when you're younger, that's another advantage that Brown has, is that he's young. If he was in his mid-30s, that's a different conversation. He's young. 6 months from his surgery, I would say potentially he's starting to run again. Hey, Sills, I'm starting to be optimistic on defense with Nick. The offense scares me more because we have talent and won't use Hurts from the 22 season. 34. That will always – 34. I don't care how talented you are in offense. You were number 8 last year. You scored like 27 points a game. You won 11 games. And you looked like shit at the end, and it didn't matter. What's going to change? Kellen Moore? Has Kellen Moore really been considered one of the best coordinators in the NFL? Why was he the Eagles' second choice? The first choice was Cliff Kingsbury. They had a contract on the table with him. That's a fact. And when he wasn't given the autonomy to bring more coaches in, and Kellen was only able to bring in a quarterback coach, there lied the difference on Kingsbury going to Washington. Kingsbury went to Washington because that entire coaching staff is his. On the offensive side, you know why? Dan Quinn and the organization gave the OC the autonomy to do that. And why was that important? Well, you guys keep forgetting. Kingsbury had a $10 million contract with the Bidwell family. He didn't have to take any job. They owed him $10 million a year for the next 3 years. He could have sat around and did nothing. He didn't have to accept interview for potential gigs to keep that money coming. He could have taken any gig. And again, you know what's funny? All you guys keep talking about Belichick not getting a job. Belichick didn't get a job because nobody was offering him $20 million like the Patriots were. And full control. $20 million in full control? What organization? The Eagles aren't going to do that. The Giants aren't going to do that. Name me an organization that would do that. The Chargers did it because they got a relationship with Harbaugh. The Falcons didn't want to do it. They didn't want to pay the 20. No, they didn't have a problem paying with the 20. They had a problem with full control. So what did they do? They hired a coach at $8 million a year or $7 million a year in Raheem Morris instead of 20 and not control. That's what they went with. The Raiders don't have the money right now to put $20 million on the table. They're still paying Gruden. Okay? Still paying Gruden. Only reason why Nick is still here because he bent the knee and smacks Howie's ass. Yes. You can only move off of so many good players. Howie gets his feelings hurt too easily. Child doesn't belong running the organization. Sam, I don't know about not running the organization. He just doesn't belong running defensive personnel when it comes to decision-making. LJ thinks that a guy who's been fired 2 years in a row is fine. Beginning of the last year, the Chargers offense was a beast. Oh, he's been fired 2 years in a row. Okay. 2 years in a row, he's been fired. He's fired in Dallas. He's fired in Los Angeles. Care how you want to paint it up. He was fired. Okay. If Brian Johnson was fired, he was fired. Sills, I disagree with you regarding the offense. It lacked creativity last season. Prince, you keep saying that offense lacked creativity. The quarterback was the issue. Completely. Everyone else got paid. Everyone else got raises. The quarterback was the problem. Plain and simple. You know, it's one thing to say that the offense stunk. They were 8th and scored 27 points a game. 8th in the NFL. Is that good enough to win a Super Bowl? I think it is. I think it is. Brian Johnson stunk so much, Devontae and AJ got raises. Okay? Right? Okay. So, let's move on to this. What happens if Reddick skips training camp? How we read the room right, Khalid. If he's not at camp tomorrow, Hassan Reddick, Khalid, then how we read the room right. Moving off him. He didn't want that nightmare and that problem in his locker room. Hargrave played through it. It doesn't seem he's going to. Remember what Hargrave did? Hargrave had 1 year remaining on his deal. And he played it out, and he got a $20 million contract with the 49ers. That's what he did. He's saying that it was too predictable. McCaffrey and defenses were able to tell what plays the Eagles were running. Yeah, because the quarterback couldn't spread the ball around. Dude, he didn't spread the ball around at 22 either. He ran the ball more. You guys are confusing that. Are you under some sort of understanding or something that he was some sort of guru offensive quarterback reading the room? He ran the ball more. It created those Y's and Z's in the numbers to be open more because he ran more of a threat. Once you took that away, he became predictable because that's all he knows how to do. That's why I keep harping on going back to 22 to help him out. Until you do that, hey, turning around and handing the ball to Barkley is not going to help Hurts. In any way, be a better reader of wide receivers in the pocket. That's not going to help him. That's not going to help him. That's something that's going to take time. He's still developing that skill set. Now, let me ask this question. I don't even know if this is so much on Jalen, okay? I really don't. But you help me out on this one then, okay? What would it take for the Eagles to move on from Hurts? Dude, That's not a conversation right now, Khalid. That's not a conversation. A massive injury? They have 3 years. I think there's a couple off ramps that are in that contract, but they're still catastrophic on the cap. Now, look, I'll say this to you. A lot of that stuff on the cap can be deferred because of the new collective bargaining agreement. So you can spread it out more so than you can. And that's why they ripped that collective bargaining agreement up 4 years ago, because it deals like the Todd Gurley, the Clay Matthews Jr. deals that were putting an anchor around many organizations' necks. They didn't want that teams. Teams wanted to be able to defer that money out more. Now, what the Falcons and the Eagles did with Wentz and Matt Ryan, they decided to take the hit in 1 year. Eagles took a 35 or whatever it was, $1 million hit on the Wentz deal. And the Falcons took a $37 million hit on the Matt Ryan deal when they sent him to Indianapolis. Okay? But you could spread that shit out, man. More so today. More so today. Most fans would bitch if we had Brady at quarterback. No, because that guy is gauged, and that guy will always be gauged not on regular season passing numbers or wins. There's certain guys that elevate themselves, Mike, that transform themselves into being something different. Nobody that plays in the National Football League right now cares about Patrick Mahomes' regular season or his passing numbers anymore. He's gauged by the postseason. Okay? That's what he is. He is gauged by the postseason, like Brady was. Josh Allen's not gauged by the postseason now. You know who else is starting to get gauged by the postseason? Lamar Jackson. He's starting to. Hurts is hurting the team. His passing and reading the defense is not improving the offense. Well, we could need a guy like a Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins is a heck of a player. Let me ask you guys this. I don't really even know if this is on Jalen at all. Okay? How can Hurts have a great season if the quarterback and head coach are not on the same page? Do you think Jalen Hurts can have a good season when, at the end of the day, he and his coach aren't on the same page? Let me ask you this. If you and your boss don't see eye to eye, how's your company work? How does your company perform if you're not on the same page? Okay? What is Kirk Cousins' playoff record? Probably something around Hurts' 2-3. Marino had good seasons, even when Jimmy tried to trade him. Yeah, but they never did anything in the postseason with him. I guarantee there are a lot of other teams that would want Hurts. Like who? The offensive philosophy last year against the blitz was to beat it, which they never could. Being on the same page with Moore is more important. So you don't think, Nick, the head coach and the quarterback not seeing eye to eye? How many people believe that that was a problem last year with the nuclear meltdown? That the quarterback and the head coach were not on the same page. As long as Nick brings the cold smoothies and stays out of the way, Hurts and Moore are on the same page. See, senor, I don't believe he is going to stay out of the way. Dude, I don't believe he is going to stay out of the way. Moore will be a head coach after this season. Shit, I'll take Nick Foles with this offense. The great thing about all this talking and debating is that it will be able to find out the answer to all this talent in a couple months. Absolutely. Beating the blitz is about quarterback seeing it, reading it, adjusting according to blitz pressure, and that's on Hurts. Absolutely true. Kirk Cousins has a 1-4 playoff record. So are you under the impression, Prince, that because Jalen Hurts has a better playoff record than Dan Marino, that he's a better quarterback than Dan Marino? Is that what you're telling me? Is that what you're really telling me? So then that means then that Brock Purdy is 10 times the quarterback that Jalen Hurts is, because he's 5-2. Is that what you're saying? Okay. We're using that then. And we're going to use your benchmark. That's what separates Purdy then. He's 5-2 in the postseason. He's been to 2 NFC title games. He spreads the ball out more, which makes him better than Hurts. Hurts does not perform like Purdy does. He wins, goes to title games, and get this, he's 5-2 in the postseason. So by your metric, that guy in San Francisco is by far better than your guy. And if Jalen Hurts is a top 10 quarterback, he's a top 3. Purdy's a top 3. Okay? C24. I don't know what that guy's fucking doing. This guy's like a 2-year-old. Does he want to be noticed that bad? Guy, you're retarded. Let's measure everything by rings. Mahomes and Brady are the best. Nobody else has rings convo. No, the metric is you just used Kirk Cousins' playoff record against Kirk Cousins. Well, I'm going to use Brock Purdy's playoff record and what he has done and won in the last 2 years. Why do you guys take a story? Why do you take a story, okay, and use it for one comment and then turn around and then don't apply it to the same guys in the league? Why? Sills, I listened to Nick's press conference and felt stupider. I honestly don't think Nick has anything to offer as a coach. I told you flat out, my friend. Hey, senor, that guy is not qualified to be an NFL head coach in this league. If I'm being honest about Hurts, he can't overcome a bad team or bad coaching. Well, you know what, though, dude? There's a lot of players that can't overcome that. There's very few people that can't overcome that. Senor, I agree with you, man. If you go back and listen to LJ's Eagles' greatest coach in the history of the franchise, you get dumber listening to him talk. Dumber and dumber and dumber. You just get dumber. He's so not qualified. Quarterback hates his ass. Nobody in the organization likes him. Okay? You do that, Mitch. What do you Dan is 100% right. Hurts will never be on 22 pace. Hey, Khalid, you put him back in that 22 mold, he goes to a couple Super Bowls. He does. He goes to a couple Super Bowls. Yes. If you had continued coaching him, okay? You see, I'll tell you what they did in Baltimore versus what they aren't doing in Philly. They didn't take his running style away from Lamar Jackson as much as they're taking the running style away from Jalen Hurts in Philly. They're overcoaching him in Philly. Lamar, Todd Monken, the offensive coordinator, he modified the passing game. And I think that's what they're trying to duplicate. Okay? And I think that's why they're trying to duplicate that in Philly, but they're doing it the wrong way. They went out and got a $10 million running back. I mean, I see what they're doing. Hey, you could say this. Well, Sills, they just went out and got Derrick Henry too. Okay, I get it. But I don't think they're going to limit Lamar from running the ball more. I think they're going to pick their moments better. The key with that thing is they melted down. They melted down more. So again, let me get back to this. Yeah, and Barb goes, Lamar hasn't won a Super Bowl either. Hey, once again, Barb, it's one thing losing a AFC title game to Patrick Mahomes, and also in the same league and in the same conference. He's won 2 MVP awards before the age of 26. That guy ain't that bad. I mean, and he's got a higher win percentage as a starting quarterback in National Football League. I mean, Jalen was 4th from the pocket last year. Dude, that guy is not, and he can't throw for $4,000. This guy can't throw for more than 23 touchdowns in a season. That's bottom of the league. That's bottom of a league. Look, they just took the hip drop tackle away. Do you think the National Football League is trying to make it easier or harder to play defense today? What do you think? What do you think? Okay? Carson Wentz is not better than Jalen Hurts. Let's not get nutty here. Okay? Dak throws 1-yard TDs. Yeah, and he had a better year than Jalen did by far last year. By far, across the board. And wins and won the division. Jalen had a better 22. Those are facts. 38-50 last year, Sills, close. Great. And Baker Mayfield had a better year. And beat him in the playoffs. Jalen Hurts will never throw for $4,000 and 30 touchdowns in a season, ever, in his career at the same time. Ever. That'll never happen. That will never happen. He's not that dude. Hey, that'll never happen in Baltimore. That's never going to happen in Baltimore. He's never going to throw for $4,000 and 30 touchdowns. You know the year that Lamar led the NFL? You want to hear something crazy? Hey, Sean, you want to hear something crazy? The year that Lamar Jackson led the National Football League in touchdown passes. Does anybody in here know how many passing yards he had that year? He had 3,100. He had 3,100. I'm not really going to debate Jalen Hurts over some of these other guys. Just not. I'm not doing it. He's not that good. Or I'll take that back. He's not as good as you think he is. He's just not. I never build my team around him. Hey, here's guys I wouldn't build my team around in the NFL today. I'm not building my team around Trevor Lawrence. I'm not building my team around Brock Purdy. I'm not building my team around Dak Prescott. I'm building my team around Jordan Love. I'm building my team around CJ Stroud. I'm not even going to bring up the guy in Kansas City anymore. Just not. I'm building my team around Allen. I would never build my team around Jalen Hurts. I would never. Why do you think there's a coincidence that both Purdy and Jalen have the most expensive offensive huddles in the NFL? Why? Because they need the most help. Common sense will tell you that. Common sense will tell you that. There's a reason that you have a $175 million offensive huddle. There's a reason. You have a great GM. No, I do not believe you do. I think you have a great general manager that knows how to put contracts and manage his cap. That's where his strength is, and that's where it lies. Martin, you and some of the people in Philly are the only people, and again, I'm not debating it, because it's respected across the league. Allen is the second or third best quarterback in the sport. It's not just me saying it. It's anybody with a brain. So I'm not going to debate it with some dude in Philly who has this great pride for Hurts and all that. Nobody in the planet would draft him over him. If you were building a team, you would build your team around Hurts over Allen. You're stupid. So we'll agree to disagree. We'll agree to disagree. You keep him. I'll take Josh Allen. Okay? All right. Here's what the depth charts look like. Here's what the depth charts look like now. I want my quarterback best attribute is to throw, not running, and getting injured. We will be upset when offense looks the same and Jalen has to go. I would have never gone. Hey, let me just say this to you, my friend, and I'll say it to you again. You're not going to look any different than you did a year ago. Stephen A. and Shannon stink. Can't watch them. Thank you, 304. I appreciate that. Your 2024 season is going to be the same as 23, except there won't be a meltdown. Seals, why do you think that Hurts has so many people making excuses for him when McNabb never did? Because Jalen's attitude's better. Or it seems. And he's a second rounder. He's an underdog. He's a overachiever. Philadelphia is represented by overachieving. It's an overachieving city. People want anything in life, they got to go to work. And it's a hardworking community. And they like the journey that Jalen's been on. Having his job taken away from him in Alabama. Having to transfer second round after the Carson Wentz thing. I think you guys have been so polluted. You know, Xander said this before. I can't remember who you were talking to, Xander. By the way, 3:30 we'll have Xander on. I forget what he said or who he was saying this to. It may have been Jeff Kerr. But Xander said something, and I expanded it. He says, do you think Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie, I think he was talking Jeffrey Lurie, do you think that whole experience with Chip Kelly resonated with those guys? And there's been like there's been like a collateral effect because of what happened. I'm paraphrasing this with Chip's experience. I'll expand it even more. I think that organization is going through also the same thing with Hurts and how they handled Wentz. I think there's a collateral damage still from the Wentz way they did business and how they're handling Jalen Hurts too, because it looks the same. It looks to me the same on how they're handling Nick in a way, that they don't want to look bad on the Doug firing, and now they don't want to look bad, and they want to overcoach this thing with Jalen because they don't want to be made to look bad. So they're overcoaching Hurts. That's why you're never going to see the 22 Hurts. They're so set on not looking bad that they forgot why they paid him. They forgot why they paid him. You didn't pay him on 23 or what he's going to do this year. You paid him on what he did in 22. And you're getting further removed from that guy. You're not even, if you go back to the, get this, Prince, if you go back to that guy, I'll be a fan. What did you say here? So it's walking contradiction. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm not contradicting anything here. Contradicting what? I have never wavered off of how I feel about Jalen since day one. Never. I have never wavered. Never wavered. MVP doesn't equate to winning Super Bowls. See Lamar Jackson. Okay? Getting to a Super Bowl doesn't equate into being a top 5 quarterback either, Barb. Right? Getting to a Super Bowl doesn't equate to being a top 10 quarterback either. Right? Can we say that too? If winning two MVPs, like Lamar Jackson before the age of 26, doesn't equate into being a great quarterback in this league, then getting to a Super Bowl doesn't either. Right? Sills, this is on Howie. When signing a quarterback with Hurts' running ability, you can't expect a long-term career. A scheme change won't turn Hurts into Allen or Mahomes. Let Hurts be Hurts. I think that's what many of us are saying. I'll take 7 years of Jalen Hurts at 22 versus 12 years of Jalen Hurts 2023. You're going to go further with 22 than you are 23. You're going to go backwards. I do not believe, and I'll make it here, I'm going to flat out tell you, I do not believe Kellen Moore is going to turn that thing around. Not with Nick in the building. Maybe if Nick wasn't, there'd be better chance. But with Nick in the building, not a chance. Because the players are exactly right with what Xander says. No matter what happens, if it's a success, Nick ain't going anywhere. Nick ain't going anywhere. They'll be back in the same bullshit next year. He's right. He's totally right. Hurts has the best receivers line yet we collapse and embarrassing from dude Jalen is holding us back. If we had any competent quarterback, we'd be a Super Bowl favorite. You're still a Super Bowl favorite. Because I think the NFC is not very good. Here, San Francisco, Detroit, and who? Outside of the Eagles. Rams? Who? Outside of Detroit and the Niners. Who would you put up there? As a Green Bay? I think they're too young, but we'll see. Green Bay's awful young. Very young football team, but okay, I'm there. I think Green Bay could be good. I still think they got some work to do with defensively. Okay? If the Eagles have success, Moore will get the head coaching. He'll get head coaching offers. Absolutely, and he'll leave. Let's see. Young but well coached. Yes, senor. Yes. Sills, you in the chat need to look at Jalen's 22 stats. Yes. No, I understand his stats. His stats were lower across the board, except for number one thing, what makes him great. Protecting the football. It wasn't about touchdown passes. It wasn't about yardage. It was about running the football in critical situations. He was on pace for 200 carries, scoring in the red zone. He was your best red zone back that year. That's including Miles Sanders. He was a red zone force. You had nothing else, actually. And you didn't even have a really good red zone offense last year because they didn't run him. His 22 stats were more than just statistics. They were situationally. His stats at 22 were by far more impressive than 23 in anything he did across the board. Why? Because they were more impactful yards. Taking off on third down, constantly being third and short. There's no question. Now you got a brand new offense, 95%. Does that mean the tush push is gone too? Is that still going to be implemented? Or have they taken that out? Have they taken out the tush push? since the 95% number came out of Jalen's mouth, have they taken that out of the game plan too? You know, like I told people, one of the most incredible things that made that offense insane was that you started every sequence 1st and 9, not 1st and 10. You started 1st and 9. Hey, local dude, I thought you were gone. Hanging around still? Or are you another one of those guys? Just talk shit all day for 4 hours. Are you going to go or not? Look, in 22, all Jalen did was run, and the league wasn't ready following year after film. League caught up to him. Absolutely. Troy, that's why the thing never evolved. That's why it never evolved. Tush Push sounds like a Euro dance song. I think Jurgens might struggle. Hey, a bit of life. You want to hear something funny? I don't think Jurgens is going to struggle. I think he's going to give you a Pro Bowl year. You know why I'm confident in saying that? Jeff Stoutland, Landon Dickerson, Lane Johnson, Jordan Mailata. You got a bunch of superstar players. I think that dude's going to be good. I mean, not Kelsey good, but hey, how about this? We're going to look at the roster here in a minute. And I was going to save that part for this, but I personally believe that Cam Jurgens is going to go to the Pro Bowl. I have more confidence saying that. I have more confidence saying that. That's right. Kyle, dude, Kelsey had a lot to say in picking him. Hey, Kyle, help me out on this. No, wait. Linda Baum went in the first round. Linda Baum was a first-round pick, the Iowa center. And Jurgens was a second rounder from Nebraska. Does that sound right? He was a second rounder, right? I think Linda Baum went to Baltimore. If I'm not mistaken, I think they grabbed him in the first round. Does that sound right? Okay, so I thought maybe that the Eagles had a chance. They could have drafted him, but they got Carter. Or no, you know what? You could have drafted Linda Baum at 31, couldn't you have? No, that was the year before. That was the year before. Okay, no. Yeah. Linda Baum was a first rounder out of Iowa. That's correct. You're right. All right. Xander's going to be at the bottom of the hour here. I want to look at the depth chart. You're going to be not thrilled with some of the positionings right now. Now, look, this doesn't necessarily mean it's set in stone here, but I got the depth chart this morning. I got the first in teams written down here. Let's do the offense first. Jalen Hurts and Kenny Pickett. Kenny Pickett's the second team. Hurts is the first team. Pretty solid there. Kenny Pickett, I think he's a quality backup. If you see the backup in the game, team's in trouble anyway. Barkley and Gainwell. Saquon Barkley's health will be the issue, but Barkley obviously is your starting running back. Wide receiver, A.J. Brown. Aeneas Smith is backing up A.J. Brown. Depth chart in June. You're 50 days to camp, Barb. And this is what you look at as a player. There's always a depth chart up. Even when you're not practicing. There is always a depth chart in the locker room posted. Sometimes even your off-season workouts are dictated by the depth chart. There is always 100% of the time a depth chart posted. in an NFL locker room. Okay? Wide receiver 2, Devontae Smith. They got Britton Covey behind him. Wide receiver 3, Paris Campbell. They got Johnny Watson behind him. Remember when I was telling Xander, how do you feel about your wide receiver room? Well, I'm pretty good about A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. When I see Ainias Smith and Britton Covey and Johnny Wilson as the second team guys, concerns me. Keep talking about Fredo-esque and Spadaro will come after you. Yeah, okay, good. Don't worry. Bob Lang will call him. God bless that Dean wasn't first. We wouldn't hear the end of it. Oh, I'm not there yet. Tight end, Dallas Goedert and CJ Uzomah is your second team guy. Offensive line, Mailata, left tackle. Fred Johnson. Micaiah Becton will be the swing tackle, though, but they got him just listed there. But Micaiah is the swing tackle. Landon Dickerson, left guard. Matt Hennessy is his backup. Center, Cam Jurgens. Dylan Mahon, second team. Who didn't look that bad, they said. Right guard, Tyler Steen. Darian Kennard. I have no issues with the O-line, even if you don't recognize the names, because of what you have with Jeff Stoutland. Lane Johnson, right tackle. Micaiah Becton. Now, look, Becton is probably, okay, he is probably going to swing at the guards and also at the tackles. Okay? Hey, local dude, you still here? Let's see now. It's over an hour now. You told me you were leaving. Just keeping score here. Want to talk shit? Okay? So the offense, pretty good stuff. Let's take a look at the defense. Here's your depth chart. By the way, let's see here. What happens if Becton becomes all pro? Phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. Absolutely fantastic. Becton looks like a beast. They love him too, by the way. Okay? Let's see. You've been here 7 minutes? Okay, so you say you've been here 7 minutes. So 2:14, let's see if you're still here. I hope you're not. Seal's not Pro Bowler at every position. Curly a shit roster. That's not what I said. Once again, overcooking it. Okay. Let's see here. Wasn't like Jalen was using Kelsey's help, was still effed up because of the blitzing. That's what you're referencing. Okay? Absolutely. So let's look at the defense now and the depth. Left end. And I agree with what Xander and John McMullen are saying. I'm not so sure they're going to be in a 30 look a lot of the game. They may start out, but they're going to morph into 4 fronts and 5 fronts. Okay? Absolutely. Hey, guys, do me a favor. Please hit the like button. Thank you. When has Becton been healthy for a full season? Look at good old Cowboy guy dropping that in. Hey, let me ask you this. How long did Tyler Smith play last year? 304. Just keeping it fair. Just keeping it fair. Just keeping it fair. All right? So here we go. Defense. Milton Williams, defensive end. Moro Ajomo is your second team guy. Yeah. Okay, well, that doesn't seem very strong to me, but okay. Nose tackle, Jordan Davis. I'm looking forward to this. I really am. I'm looking forward to this. Marlon Tutupadu is the backup at nose. Size in there, not bad. Right DE, Jalen Carter, Thomas Booker. These are your backups? Your backups don't look very good in a 3-front, let alone in a 4-front. You have no depth. You have zero depth. So Mike thinks that a 7th rounder or 6th rounder is going to turn into Milton Williams. You better hope so. Hurts all-pro year. Hit the likes, guys. Thank you, Fat Mac. Appreciate it, brother. Your will is Bryce Huff. The backup is Josh Sweat. Left inside linebacker. This is your depth chart as of today. Kobe Dean. And Trotter Jr. Now, they did play Zach Bond at inside linebacker, but he's not on the depth chart at that position right now. That could change. But again, helmets and shorts, and he's never played inside. He's an outside linebacker. And to what Xander said, they're not off this Dean train yet. John McMullen is making it clear they're not off the Dean train. Devin White at left inside LB. Right inside LB is Oren Burks. A strong side linebacker, Nolan Smith and Zach Braun. Let me ask you this question. Left cornerback position. I do not believe. Oh, by the way, why is James Bradbury still on the team? June 10th. Where are we going here? What's going on? So you're going to go into training camp with him? You're obviously going to go into training camp with him. You are not cutting him. You are going into training camp with James Bradbury on your team. You see this, right? They are not cutting him. Because they could have cleared up a roster spot, went out, and signed another guy. No one knows. You have to have your, you know what? You're right, Neil. June 1, the roster has to be set to 90. Oh, wait, we're past June 1. You have to have your roster set at 90 right now. So you are going to camp with him. No one knows. Your 90-man roster has been set. Your training camp roster is set. You're going to camp with him. So let me say this to you. Here's a decision to make. I'm not starting Quinyon Mitchell, cornerback, over Keely Ringo if he don't deserve it. I don't give a shit what round you drafted him in. No way. If Keely Ringo gets into competition with the pads on and starts getting people on the ground, Keely Ringo starts. I'm not handing assignments out because you got drafted 22. I'm handing assignments out because you earned it. I'm not playing that bullshit anymore. the Howie Roseman personnel game. I'm playing the best people. That's how you got your asses kicked in last year, by playing office politics, by not benching Jordan Davis, playing Milton Williams and starting him. Office politics is also part of the reason you got your shit pushed in. If Kelee Ringo deserves a start, he should. Hey, you drafted him too. Or you put him on the team a year ago, I should say. He's part of the roster too. I'm not inking a guy down as a starter because you drafted him. That's not a prerequisite to playing in the league on where you're drafted. That has nothing to do with it. You cloud your judgment on certain players. Get this. Look at Prince. Prince puts a value on drafting a guy at a position versus a guy who might be better. How's that possible? Don't you want the best player to play? Oh, wait, let me get this right. That's because your guy's been a superstar at picking corners over the years. Correct? Stupidity. Right here at its finest. Hey, I'm going to play a guy because we drafted him high, not because he's better than the guy. Okay, Prince, I got you, brother. No, Sean, no. So you're saying how he screwed up the draft sales? No. I'm saying if a guy's out playing another guy, he should start. No. No. Well, I'll tell you what, JM, I didn't hear Quinyon Mitchell's name as much as I heard Kelee Ringo's name coming from Vic Fangio. I didn't hear Kobe Dean's name versus Zach's name being talked about more. I heard those guys talking. Now, again, get this. Here's something else that I love how people go, well, you're in pajamas. I got it. So in pajamas, the defense shows some prospect, but in pajamas, the offense sucked out loud. And I'm not worried about them, even though they're the most experienced and they're the highest paid guys. But I'm giving those guys a lot of love over there because they look good. Hey, I love the optimistic look on it. It's okay to be that way on June 10th, but that's not reality. It's not a sliding scale one way or the other. It's either giving people kudos or not. Bradbury All-Pro year. Man with chip. MMW. Ringo's the number 3 outside cornerback. So you're going to hand a starting assignment to somebody who might not deserve it because he was drafted 22. Is that right, Marina? Okay. Gardner Johnson, strong safety. They got Tristan McCullum. Probably Cooper DeJean will be swinging that. I think Cooper DeJean's going to get on the field a lot. Either one of them safety positions, slot, corner. You're going to see him on the field a lot. And right cornerback, they got Isaiah Rodgers behind Slay. I'll tell you what, man. If you get into the exhibition season and you put Kelee Ringo and Isaiah Rodgers at the corner, and then you put Mitchell in the slot, okay? You look like Kansas City did 2 years ago when they put them young dudes in there. And if you get production out of that comment that Xander made about moving off his Slay by the trading deadline starts to come in focus more. Because I do not want a 34, 33-year-old corner on my football team this year. Bradbury is not good, and you got a 33-year-old, come January, 34-year-old corner. He's got to be the oldest corner in the league, or one of the oldest corners in the league. So you're going to have look at this. Almost every single one of your back end defensive backs are in their early 20s. And you got almost a 35, 34-year-old corner out there. I don't know, making $11 million. Cooper is not that good, not physical. I disagree. I think he's shown more so far in the OTAs than Mitchell has. I like Mitchell's shit talking. I do. And I'm not saying Mitchell's not good. Again, I think the kid Arnold was my choice. He's better, and he's better prepared for the NFL than Mitchell is. It's common sense. He's better prepared. He's better prepared. He played against better people, both in practice every day and in the SEC. I'm not saying that that's the number one benchmark, but it kind of takes down the opportunity of failure, at least when you're playing against great people. Sills, it's not a difficult process to follow. Howie didn't draft Micaiah Becton. If he's the best player for right guard, he'll start. That's because Stoutland is a real coach. Yeah, that's right. Stoutland's going to play the best. Hey, by the way, Bob, the one thing that you can be comfortable with, though, when they made that trade with Buffalo to get the great offensive tackle into Philadelphia, he wasn't a homegrown guy either. You and Tone clowned me publicly saying that Ringo was Barbie. I did. I'm not. No. He played himself into a position where he's now a name. Huss, hey, Big Marshall, just so you know, every single player that comes into the National Football League is meat. I don't care who you are. You're not given anything until you show it. You can have all your fortune cookies and open up your fortune cookie, Big Marshall, and project that you think this guy's going to be. But until you show coaches and other teammates, you're meat. You're Luke Lelouch. You're Luke Lelouch for the Durham Bulls until you can show that you can play in this league. Luke Lelouch. Let's see here. I got 30 minutes in now, huh, local dude? Still here, huh? Damn. I thought you were gone an hour ago. It's all good, brother. You want to stay? Have at it, man. We welcome all shit talkers. That's why Xander throws shit at me when he goes, how can you not like A.J. Brown, Sills? Yeah, I think Vic wants Bradbury. Barry fits perfect. Well, I'll tell you what. He was part of that 22 process. And if Bradbury's playing center field, can he really kill you that much? I don't know. Sills is such a prick, bro. Hey, local dude, you're just figuring that out and only took you 30 minutes. Holy cow. You must have a college degree. It took him all of 30 minutes to figure that out. Really? You should see some of the text messages that I get, Sue, from Xander Krause, who is the superstar in the mornings here with Birds 365. Don't skip my super chat, Sills. I worked hard for that. Hey, I didn't skip it. I didn't. You want what? You think $5 is going to make me apologize to you? You need to roll that thing around here a little bit. It's going to take a $50 one. You give me $50, Big Marshall, I'll apologize. I'm easily bought. $5, You can't buy me like that. That's just a little too cheap for me. I'll even go $20. I'll give you an apology on $20. How's that? I'll come down because it's the off season. In season, it's $100. All right. Let's bring in the star from Birds 365, and it's Xander. Yeah, I got to have a requirement here. Out of season, I'll go 20. In season, I can be bought for 100.
That's a cheap price to be had, Sills. Although I gave James Jones, I'm not sure if James is in here right now. I gave him a hail to the Commanders for a measly $5 on Bird 365. So my price is cheaper than yours right now.
Hold on, wait a minute. But there's a method to your madness here because it's off season. You see, in season, that may cost him a little bit more, especially if it's going to be thrown out love to the Commanders with Josh Harris the week of the Eagles. That might have to cost you at least a 50 spot.
Yeah, but the Commanders suck anyway. So
you're not concerned about it anyway.
It's not really. It doesn't bother me that much. They suck. I'll throw James a bone. He's here every day. I appreciate it. What's up, everybody in the chat? What's up, Big Sills? How you doing, man?
So I might have to start it out here with this. The New York media is killing Joe Douglas on this Reddick deal that tomorrow is mandatory minicamp. And if he doesn't show up, Boomer was telling me this. He goes, so what did they just think? That the problems that the agent and Hassan Reddick had with the Eagles was just going to go away and evaporate because they traded him up to the Jets? They got the same issue going up there. Maybe at the end of the day, some of the people in here and Howie, maybe they read the room right. We're going to know more tomorrow and by the end of the year who got the better end of this thing, I think.
Yeah, I just don't get why you make a trade like that without the deal in place. Like the most recent one I can think of, and it happens all the time, but even just right here in Philadelphia, we traded for A.J. Brown on the draft night. The deal came down two minutes later, for 4 years, $100 million. That deal was previously worked into the trade. So I don't really get Joe Douglas's thinking here. Did he think that just putting on a new jersey would be enough? Because from a player's perspective, I get where Hassan's at right now. He's playing a valuable position, but he's also on the almost over that 30 number where he knows every season is going to be worth a lot of money, and then it's going to fall quick. So he wants to get that money. 14.5 is – you're not signing a 10-sack guy for 14.5 right now in the NFL. So he knows he's playing on a bargain. He's holding out. Looks like Howie lost the battle to win the war.
Yeah, and I'll tell you this, though. I think that agent misread the room. And I think he's misread the market here because, dude, we're talking $14 million. You're telling me somebody couldn't pony up $3-4 million, extra $5 million?
See, that's where I'm like, well, did he lose the war? Because I would have rather paid Hassan the money, but I think it's something deeper. I don't know if I don't think Vic Fangio wanted Hassan Reddick. He's using those guys in too many different ways in his defense than to just have a one-trick pony, one-sack guy. Now, the weird thing is that Bryce Huff isn't that guy either. Now, he's a little bit younger. Maybe he will be more, versatile and able to do it or willing to do it.
Maybe he's more coachable.
Yeah, more coachable. Right. I mean, when you get older, you get stuck in your ways, like Big Sills. You guys can hate him all you want. He's gonna piss you off no matter what. So, yeah, I mean, I would have rather kept Hassan, but I'm over it at this point. I think the defense is going to be all right. But yeah, I don't know what they're doing down there in New York, man. I mean, why do you make that trade? I guess they don't really care. They're like, hey, what do we give? A 4th rounder in 2038? I don't know. They might not care either.
Yeah, but dude, man, I mean, why would you make a trade for a guy that you didn't have anything resolved for and you had no intentions of making a deal? You can't tell me Joe Douglas and Howie weren't at least having a dialogue. They've got history together on what he was going to potentially do. And now all of a sudden, you got a player that's disgruntled now just because he moved up 95? Yeah, I don't get that.
The other question, though. So what's he going to do? He's not going to sit out. He's not going to forfeit $14 million.
No, but he's gonna forfeit maybe if he doesn't show up tomorrow $150,000.
Yeah, so
for 3 days,
it'll cost him 150 G's. But let's just zoom ahead to August 30th. Like,
probably not.
If you get to that point and he doesn't have a deal, he's probably going to play on that deal. So maybe the Jets will end up getting the guy. Now you're going to have potentially people in the locker room pissed off, Hassan pissed off. He might not want to play. I don't know. We'll see how it works, but I don't anticipate him giving up the money. So
you think Howie just moved on from the problem? He just wanted to get out of the problem?
I don't think it was a problem worth moving on from, being that edge rusher is one of those positions that's worth that much. But again, I don't know for sure, but I don't think Vic Fangio liked Hassan Reddick.
This is Vic. You feel this is more of a Vic move?
Well, I think Howie
I
wanted
agree.
to move him. I think Howie probably wanted to, and then once Vic said, "Yeah, he's not really a guy that I'm going to ask you to pay more money to keep around," I think that probably resulted in Howie.
Can I tell you why I agree that this is a Vic move? That third-round pick. I think that third-round pick.
That's a good point.
Okay, to me, makes that Hassan Reddick move a Vic Fangio move.
Yeah, that's true.
All right. You led us right into the next question here, and I love it. Okay, so I heard you this morning. I'm very optimistic about the defense with guys in pajamas and helmets and shorts. It looks like these guys are pretty good. They need it up. Then you turn around and you go, I'm not real concerned about the guys over on offense.
You didn't listen to the segment.
I did listen. Actually,
I got three takeaways from minicamp.
Okay, John said that. Okay, I won't put it. Okay, John said that.
I said I got three takeaways. My three takeaways were the defense has a chance to be better than we expected. The offense has a chance to be worse than we expected. And Nick Sirianni is a massive problem. Those are my three takeaways.
No, it was John who actually said it. I just tried to put words in your mouth there. So, yeah, okay, fair enough.
Checked on the spot.
Caught Big Sills there. All right.
Call me LJ Jr. out here, checking Big Sills on the spot.
Okay, let me throw this one at you here now. So, can Jalen Hurts have a great season if the quarterback and the head coach are not on the same page?
I don't see it. I mean, you talked about your example was go to any business, go to anything. How can a coach and quarterback who aren't on the same page have great success? They're the two most important people on your football club, is your head coach and your quarterback. So I don't want to say he won't have a good season though, because if he's on the same page with Kellen, I think that means you can have a good offense. I think where the Jalen and Nick dynamic really comes into play is when you get late in the season, you get playoffs, you're in conference title games, you're battling for a Super Bowl, whatever it might be. Those are where your money is made. And that's where I wonder if that dynamic will eventually rear its ugly head, and it could be a problem. But with the way they're talking about how it's Kellen Moore's offense, I don't want to say Jalen's not going to have a good year if he doesn't like Nick's year or if their relationship is fractured. I still think he can have a good year. I don't know about the Eagles. That's a different question. I don't know what the Eagles will be with Nick.
Sounds to me like you're talking about a season like 23.
Yeah.
11 wins.
I think without the drama, I don't
without the meltdown.
Yeah, right. I don't think they're going to have another meltdown like that. I think that's too much. I don't think that's coming on. But
so 11 wins. Everyone has a good season.
Boy, 11 wins. I don't think the owner is going to be happy with that. 11 wins and what? Where are we talking? If you win, I don't care if you win 10 games and you go to the Super Bowl. Round. I don't care if you win 9 games and you go to the Super Bowl.
I know.
It all matters.
I've never cared about wins, except when it comes to home field. Home field.
You got to get into the dance.
Winning the division, it matters there when you're in that conversation. Of course it does. However, though, that's why when everyone during the season was going 10-1, I'm like, what does that have to do with anything? Let's see what you do when you finish up with the deal here. I wrote down a couple things here, and you tell me if you agree or disagree. NFC East rankings, 50 days out to training camp. They're going to start a week earlier now on the 22nd because they're going to Brazil.
Yep. So they're not
starting on the 27th.
Yeah. Because their game, I mean, it's funny though. The game is that Friday night. So they got
I
got a 2-day bump and they get a
travel.
week. Right. Yeah. Because you're traveling to Brazil, Sao Paulo. Yeah. That's not like you're flying to, middle
Mars.
Of the country or anything. Yeah.
Here you go here. NFC East rankings, 50 days out. I got Eagles. I got Commanders. I got Cowboys. And I got Gigantes.
So you already went to Cowboys. You already went there with the Commanders. You must think highly of Jaden Daniels. You think the Cowboys win what?
5 games.
Oh no.
Who's running the ball for them? Who's their number 2 receiver?
They've never built their team. Well, I guess they have, but I think Dak is a good enough quarterback to throw the ball for more than 5 wins. I'm not a big Dak and big moments guy, but you're telling me that team is going to win 5 ball games? Come on, they're always competent. We split with them most of the time. In fact, they've gotten the better of us since Dak Prescott's been in.
They have no running game.
Yeah, but come on, that's not.
Can you even name
Listen,
the?
You're not gonna sit here and turn me to a Dallas.
I can't
guy.
name
For 5 wins.
running back.
I just don't see that. I don't think they're a
Do you know who
I
the
think
starting running back is?
Panthers
I
are
don't.
A 5-win team.
Hey, could somebody in here tell me who the starting running back in Dallas is? I don't know who it is.
Did they got rid of the Pollard guy too?
Pollard's gone.
Pollard's gone. I guess did they sign Zeke? That happened, right?
Zeke. He's a relic.
No, I'm not saying he's going to be your guy, but I mean, he's washed as heck.
And who's their number 2 receiver?
Let me look for you.
Who's Elliott?
Boy, you're right. I mean, they don't have a good running back, but I don't think their whole team is going to be made on the running back.
It's based off
Wait
of
a
play
second.
action.
They have an online, I guess it says 2023. So they've removed the names who are gone. Okay. Because they don't have a running back 1 listed right now. They just have it blank with CeeDee Lamb and Brandon Cooks there. I think Cooks is gone. So this is last year's. I don't know if they have a 2024 depth chart yet. I just don't think they're a 5-win team. I don't
see where they're moving the sticks. And you really think their run defense is going to get better when they got blown up by the Cardinals? At 240 yards rushing on them. The Cardinals. Hey, the Eagles got beat by them, but they didn't get their shit pushed in like that.
See, Dallas is in an interesting spot where I will say the 3 contracts looming. Like, what are they doing?
Rico Dowdley is the running back for the Cowboys.
There's 3 or 4. He says the Cowboys.
Spider Rico is the running back for the Cowboys. Spider Rico DFW.
Dowdle. Running back is the easiest position to find, 304 says.
Oh,
so
yeah, Cowboys, that's right, because I forgot. That's right. You guys won so many Super Bowls without a running back since the 90s.
Wait, the people in the chat think 5 wins for Dallas. Is that accurate? Are Eagle fans with Sileo on this?
I think 5 to 7
3
wins.
304 has to say. 304 is a Dallas fan. So let's see, what's his expectation going into the year? I think the Eagles are a 12+ win team or bust. I mean, I had him at 13-4 on my early predictions.
With Nick in the building, with the Wicked Witch of the West in the building, you got the Eagles.
Well, listen, you did what the Eagles need to do to get to the dance, and one of those items on that list was Nick needs to stay out of the way. So if he stays out of the way, I think it's a 12-win team, 12+.
Spider Rico's running the ball for the Cowboys. I think the Commanders have more talent.
Commanders are sleepy, but you got to be really high on Jaden Daniels to think they're going to be better than Cowboys right now.
Well, how about this?
I like
they
Jaden
have a
Daniels
better wide
lot.
receiving
He's
core
not
than the
particularly
Cowboys.
your style of quarterback.
Hold on. Hold on now. One thing I will say, they got better receivers in Washington than they do in Dallas. You got CeeDee Lamb and who? They've got Dotson and they've got that other kid.
They have good receivers. Yeah, but you're counting on the quarterback to get him the football. Let's see. I like Daniels, but most guys aren't great rookie year. There are exceptions. CJ Stroud was great his rookie year, but I don't know if Daniels is CJ Stroud. I think the Eagles are going to be the best team in the NFC East, though.
And they lost their center.
Yeah, that's big too. I don't know what they're doing over there. Every time I talk about the Cowboys, I'm like, what is
they're losing?
Even
players.
If you want to move on from Dak. All right, let's just assume they want to move on from Dak, which I don't
How
think
come the Eagles add players and the Cowboys cut players?
Yeah, I don't get it. Who are you going to go to? If you move on from Dak, what's the Cowboys' options?
Cooper Rush.
Cooper Rush. I guess Trey Lance, Big Sills. 3 first-round pick Trey Lance.
That you got for a third. Wow, that's a steal in my book.
It is a steal.
I would gamble a 3rd rounder on a guy who you gave up 3 first-rounders for.
Yeah, I was never a Trey Lance guy coming out. Maybe I just had bad blood in my mouth for the whole North Dakota State thing. He played where Carson played. So
yeah, you play in a beer-drinking league, and you got all white cornerbacks and DBs. What do you know anything about playing against Little Sisters of the Poor and Eagle Creek University? Come on, dog. Nobody – I mean, the 5th team of Alabama could beat the shit out of that North Dakota State team.
Yeah, you're right. Barb's right. We're not concerned about Dallas. There's bigger fish to fry. I'm worried about the Niners. Niners are going to be a good squad.
And Lions.
Lions are going to be a good squad too.
Okay.
NFC is still pretty weak though. The Niners are good. The Eagles are good. The Lions are good, but they're not.
No.
You don't have as much of a deep gauntlet. Like in the AFC, there's like 6 or 7 teams that that realistically could come out on top.
Maybe the Packers.
Yeah, but I want to see it. I want to see it another year on them. I want to see it another year.
Yeah. Here's who I have. Quarterback rankings.
All right, this is good.
I got Dak 1. I got Hurts 2. I got Daniel Jones 3. And I got Jaden Daniels 4.
I don't get how your quarterback rankings stack up with your team rankings. You have Jaden Daniels as the 4th best quarterback, which I would agree with.
Yep.
But how do you have them as the 2nd team in the NFC if their quarterback sucks? And then on the contrary, you have the best quarterback in the NFC East is going to finish third.
Let me tell you why. I don't think the NFC East is that good.
Okay, so
I think that Commander team may win 7-6 games. They may win only 7 or 8 games. You making it seem like I think they're a 10-win team. Or they're not.
No. All right. I see what you're saying. So you're saying it's back to the NFC least this year.
Yes. I think there's going to be one team come out of that division this year with a 500 or better record.
Boy, if the NFC least is that bad, the Eagles, that 13-win prediction is looking good for me. They got 8 ball games. They got 8 games against or 6 games against these teams. Shoe and sticks right there.
Dak had a better year last year, won the division, went just as far. So the tiebreaker comes down to better performance and won the division. There's nothing he did a year ago that was better. Nothing. Except complain.
I'm a little surprised you think Dak Prescott's a better product.
I didn't say he's a better quarterback. I said he's coming off a better year.
Than Jalen Hurts, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think honestly, I'm not a Dak hater. Like I like the style of play. I think he throws the ball well, but I don't see it in terms of going all the way. I see him as another.
How can you say that Kellen Moore is going to make an impact on Jalen Hurts? He was the coordinator there in Dallas for 5 years with Dak, and you think magically he's going to make him into a better version of Dak?
No, I think Kellen Moore's smart enough to adapt to Jalen Hurts' needs. But a Dallas fan in the chat, 304, how good were the Dallas offenses with Kellen Moore in those 5 years? From my recollection, they weren't bad offenses.
No, I think they were number 1 year.
Yeah, they were pretty high-powered offenses. So I don't have a problem with that. You think I'm not going to take the assumption that Kellen Moore is going to look at Dak Prescott or Jalen Hurts as Dak Prescott 2.0.
I think that's what the front office does.
Oh, I don't. No, I don't.
Well, then why did they take him away from the 22 style last year?
Was it the front office?
They hired him. They hired Brian or elevated Brian.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. I think they got a better coordinator in Kellen Moore. If you can't adapt your offense to fit a particular quarterback, you're not that great of a coordinator.
Let's move on to coaches.
You didn't win me over on that one. I don't think.
I'm clearly not thinking that Kellen Moore is going to make the impact that you and everyone else.
I'm not saying the impact is going to be great. I'm just saying I think the offense is going to look different than it did with Dak. Slightly. A variation of it.
So you think that Jalen is more of a talented passer?
No, I think he's a better quarterback. Player. He's a different type of player. He's definitely a different
Kellen's never coached.
That Kellen has never coached. I'm banking on hopefully Kellen Moore is a good offensive mind who can take a good talent and make him something. Make something for him that works. I mean, that's crazy to say. That's what good coaches do, right?
How did he do in the first 5 games with Justin Herbert?
Not good. That offense wasn't very good last year, and you love Justin Herbert.
I love Justin Herbert. I think him and Burrow are probably going to be in the conversation for MVP because of Jim Harbaugh's influence. If Jim Harbaugh could take Colin Kaepernick to a Super Bowl, he could do marvelous things with a guy who could throw the rock around the room like that dude.
That's fair. I'm curious about Harbaugh. He does still have a little bit of that college attitude there. Like he's not playing music, I saw, or something. I'm like, I don't mind that. But
44-19 and 1 as an NFL head coach.
Yeah, that's a pretty incredible record. That's pretty
and went to 2 NFC title games. So, and won one of them. I mean, he is a good coach.
Yeah, I think the Cowboys to me are an 8 to 10 win team. Just to go back, just to circle back on that real quick. I think they're going to be an 8 to 10 win team this year. The Cowboys.
Here's the coaches. I got Brian Dable, number 1.
What?
I think he's a really great coach doing.
The guy had one good year.
Well, here.
By that metric, Jalen Hurts is the greatest quarterback since sliced bread. Come on, man.
Metric that you're talking, then that Nick is better than Doug because Nick has a better record.
No, that's not true.
No,
that's
all right.
Brian Dable had one good year as a head coach since being in. He hasn't ever coached otherwise as a head coach in the NFL.
I don't think they're helping him with personnel there with that general manager.
You don't think he signed off on them signing Daniel Jones to a 4-year deal?
No.
You think the head coach who just
I think the owner did
said, "Don't sign that quarterback. I don't want him," and then they did it? I don't think so.
No, I'm going to tell you why. I know how the Giants think. The Giants are a little bit like the Eagles in the fact when it comes to player contracts, you're not going to give a first-time head coach autonomy to fucking tell you what to do with a guy you're questioning on Daniel Jones. Okay, so wait a minute. He fucked up then on picking up the 5th-year option, and then he fucked up again by signing him to a contract, 3-year, $100 million extension, $180 million extension. I don't believe Dable had that say. One of them, maybe the 5th year, not to pick it up, maybe he said no, and that was on him. Then
Why
you
is that
turn
on
around
Dable,
and
Why is that not on the GM?
It is. Oh, it's totally on the GM.
Because weren't they not a package deal, but didn't they both come from Buffalo?
They did.
Yeah. I kind of view them as they're working hand in hand here. If I can't, I'm blanking.
Maybe a little bit. Maybe I'll bend on that because I forgot.
What's his name? I can't think of the GM there.
He came.
Yeah,
Joe
Schoen. That's it.
He came down from Baltimore. He did come down with what's his name? Bean up there. He worked with.
That's right. I was
Bean in Buffalo.
Exactly.
You're right.
I think they're kind of working hand in hand. So if Dable has sucked categorically since that one good year, I'm not going to say he's the best coach in it. I think Mike McCarthy might be a better coach.
Yeah, I'll take that. Oh, you know what I'll do? I'll change. You're right. I forgot he came down from Buffalo with him, so they are working hand in hand.
Yeah, I'm not.
I'll go there.
It's funny because I was sold on Dable. I said back a couple years ago, and obviously I wasn't on air.
Well, he won the Coach of the Year.
And I said after that, boy, the Giants, they have a chance to come up in this NFC East and give the Eagles a run for their money. I was dead wrong, on that. But
would you go here, McCarthy, Dan Quinn, Nick, and then Dable?
No, I would go
Dable third.
No, I would go Sirianni second, and I'm not a Sirianni guy. But what is Dan Quinn? Is he a Super Bowl winner?
What?
He wasn't a Super Bowl winner as a head coach, was he?
Yes. No, defensive coordinator up in Seattle.
Here's the problem. Here's my struggle with Nick, right? I don't like the coach, but I like the success. He's been here 3 years. We've been to the playoffs 3 years. We went to the Super Bowl.
Anybody could have done that?
With the talent, I guess you could argue they would have. I don't think anybody would have took him to the Super Bowl.
How about this? Do you think Shane Steichen would have a better record than Nick? And do you think he would have won the Super Bowl if he was the head football coach? And do you think that thing last year wouldn't have melted? How about this? Do you think that thing wouldn't have melted down last year if Steichen was the coach?
Yeah, I think the offense would have been a lot better, which obviously would have changed how a lot of that season played out. But that's a tough what if, Dan. Wait. Do you think Nick Sirianni had a good coaching season in 22? Or do you believe they went that far despite him?
I do. I think there's more of that, but I also happen to think what you and I said. I want to take you back to what you said. After 2-5, you came on that Monday before we went on the air. You go, you think this guy makes the year? And when that Tuesday and Players' Day off, when they took the play calling responsibilities away and gave it to Steichen, that decision alone saved his job in Philly. There's been 2 moments in his career in Philly that have saved him. The owner at the end of this year and Steichen taking the play calling over. Other than that, I mean, think about, like I've said, okay, his first year, he's 2-5. Last year, with him saying it's my offense, they were 11-6, right? So theoretically, he's only what? he's like 13 in like 12 or 11 as a guy in charge of an offense.
Yeah, I mean, that's now not his role. So we'll see. But I mean, are we going to go directly off of how he was when he called the offense? Then it's not good. But if we're going over the whole body of work, he's been the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles for 3 years, 3 straight playoff appearances, won the NFC East. I want to say twice.
No.
Yeah, twice. Yeah.
No. First year they didn't win it. They went as a wild card.
22, they won it. Yeah, first year they did not win it. Cowboys won it that year.
Right.
And then it was Eagles. Then it was Cowboys again. 3 straight playoff appearances, Super Bowl appearance, conference championship. We don't have that many of them. Nick Sirianni has one in the chamber. I mean, I'm not going to take that away from him. While I don't like to coach, I'm not going to say Dan Quinn or Brian Daboll are better head coaches than him. I will give the nod to Mike McCarthy, who I'm not a fan of. I'm not a huge fan of either. He did win a Super Bowl, though.
Well, he did hire Kellen Moore, your boy.
He got rid of him, too, and took over play calling, and I thought called a better offense than him.
He did.
That's what I would be more concerned about if I was an Eagles fan.
Yeah, he did.
We signed a guy who was in Dallas, who's NFC East hopping. He didn't really do what Dallas wanted them. Now, they were a good offense, but they got rid of him, and I thought Mike McCarthy made the offense a little bit better.
You want me to tell you the truth, though? I think he's overrated a little bit. How do you have Aaron Rodgers for 14 years?
Oh, yeah.
Dak Prescott, and you win 1 Super Bowl.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, you know what I'm saying?
But he still won it. I mean, you can't compare him to like Belichick. You're right, though. You have Aaron Rodgers. You should win more. But I put some of that on Aaron Rodgers.
Absolutely. So, quickly, let's take a look at the depth chart here a little bit.
Yeah.
The offense. I'm going to make a point to you, and I'm going to make a prediction to you.
Okay.
Cam Jurgens is going to be a Pro Bowler.
Wow, good prediction. I like that. He's shown a lot. I think physically he's going to be a lot better than most are expecting. But just because when you lose a guy like Jason Kelce, your natural expectation is like, okay, we're not going to have another Hall of Famer. I'm not saying Cam's going to be a Hall of Famer. I think physically, though, he's going to be better than people are expecting. I'm curious to see how he does from the leadership aspect and managing the on-field, or even if are they going to try and use him in that scenario? Like Jason Kelce kind of earned that right. You know, he was late in his career when Jalen came in. He had obviously earned that right. I don't know if they're going to put that on Cam in year 1. I think he'll take some of it, but I don't know how much they're going to put on. And it does bring up the point that you talked about last week of who's the leader on the offense. But I think Cam's going to be good. I like that prediction. That's a good prediction.
Because I think where the drop-off is going to be and the cerebral part of it.
All right, so here, let me ask you this.
But the physical end of it, I think you're going to get a stronger, younger player.
That's true.
Okay, than the older 36-year-old guy. And again, I'm going to be interested to see, does the tush push go away if 95% of the offense is changed?
I have a feeling inside. I don't know this, or I don't know. I'm sure they're going to try it. I have a feeling the tush push will be there, but to a much lesser extent this year. I think teams will have game planned a little bit more for it. I think Kelsey's a big loss on it, and I think it's going to be gone. Here's what I'll ask, though. If Cam Jurgens does that and goes to a Pro Bowl, how good is this offensive line? And in turn, how good is the offense because of the line being that good?
I would put the offensive line right now 3rd.
In the NFL, I think that's
in the NFL.
I think top 5 is where they're at. Yeah, maybe 3rd. Top 3. Yeah. Who do you have in front of them? Lions,
Detroit, and Cleveland.
Cleveland's is good. There's a couple other good. There's a lot of good.
Minnesota's got some
in the
good,
NFL right
Minnesota's
now.
got a good-looking unit.
Yeah, Minnesota. Yep.
Okay.
Even Tampa Bay has a
looking
unit. Yeah.
Especially on the edges with their tackles.
With the tackles. Yep.
Okay, but I would say because Ragnow is in the middle of that with those 2 tackles they have. And Penei Sewell, by the end of the year, might be in that conversation as the best offensive left tackle in the league.
Yep. You remember
how good he's getting.
You remember when I thought the Bengals made a mistake passing on Sewell. And you could still maybe argue they did. Now they got a highly productive player by going with Jamar Chase. It's not like they flopped on that, but I'd rather have the Bengals and you got Joe Burrow, protect that man. And
I'd rather have the tackle than Chase.
Me too.
Okay. Is there any concerns with the depth chart here of Hurts, Barkley, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Paris Campbell, Dallas Goedert, Mailata, Dickerson, Jurgens, Steen, and Lane, and Becton being the swing tackle, could possibly be the swing guard on top of that too. And your backup receivers are Johnny Wilson, Britton Covey, and Ania Smith. Those are your guys on the 2-shot and on the 2-sheet.
Yeah, I think that's good. Depth chart sounds good to me on offense. The questions start on defense. Because, boy,
So
I tell you what.
you have no issues on offense.
No, I mean, who would you have an issue with? Well, I mean, entertain me. I'm open to the conversation. But right now, from how it stands, you got 2 great wide receivers. You got your starting quarterback, got your starting running back. Offensive line looks like another top 3 to top 5 unit.
It's not a concern, but it's a question. I want to know what exactly the role is going to be for Barkley.
Yeah, is it bell cow back? Is it throwing him out of the backfield? Is it putting him in the slot?
Is it chameleon? Is it going to determine week to week?
Yeah, it's a good question, because this is what John is so harped on with Barkley, and the fans are all, they give him a lot of crap for it because John doesn't like the signing, and that's where he is, and he's like, I don't know what they're expecting to do with this guy. So
here's what I think the fans are, because the fans say it. Well, he'll have the same impact as Barkley. So, I mean, as CMC.
I don't think people are saying that. I hope not. That's not what it's going to be.
Well, they say it in here all the time to me that they think he's a better ball player and he should be used like that. That he's and I say this to you. Okay, well, wait a minute here. That guy had 1,400 yards last year. That guy had 900 yards receiving. That guy had like 80 yards, 80 catches. This guy had 25 touchdowns last year, and he had almost 2,100 yards in total offense. That offense knows how to utilize him and to find a role and create an identity for that position player. Are the Eagles and Kellen Moore going to be as creative as Kyle Shanahan is? And get this, they have the same dynamic too, Xander. They've got Debo, they got Ayuk, they got Kittle.
Yeah,
they've got all those guys too that they have to implement.
And forget the players for a second. Kellen Moore is not the play caller that Kyle Shanahan is. Kyle Shanahan, he has his faults. Play calling is not one of his faults. Even the way he uses Debo Samuel and Ayuk.
A lot of motion.
Just plays you don't see other teams doing at all. Concepts you don't see. I mean, Debo Samuel what is he? Is he a wide receiver? He's not a wide receiver when I watch him. Plays a running back, wide receiver, tight end. He's everything. So the creativity in that offense is tremendous. So I don't think you should compare anything to it. You also have the right quarterback for that system. He is a distributor of the football. Brock Purdy is 1-2 seconds, get rid of that football. And that helps when you have playmakers and you use them like Kyle Shanahan. But let me ask you about Saquon. How do you want them to use him? Like, what would Dan Sileo's opinion of, if you were the head coach of the football team or you were the offensive coordinator, how would you use Barkley with Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert? That's a lot of passing options. You also have the +1 from Jalen Hurts in the running game. Like, what's the right fit for a running back of Barkley's caliber? I don't know.
Offense to run through him.
So more of a bell cow back type of role.
I want him to be involved on third down a lot, and I want him to be a guy first, second, and third down. And I want him used like Marshall Faulk was used with the greatest show on turf in St. Louis. Because to me, when you have a bell cow back like that, the rest of your offense is in sync and everyone else is wide open. When you could, this is the problem Dallas has. Hey, you don't have a guy like that to be able to spread defenses out. Like when I line up against the Cowboys don't frighten me in the run game. So get this, you trying to spread me out? Great. I'll put guys out there in zone coverage, and I know Dak's not going to make and walk down the field on a 14-play drive throwing the ball. There's no way, because you can't have him establish the run. You've got to establish the run. Now, look, is that 1,200 yards, him being a premium third down back that blocks on blitzes too, and he catches 45, 50 passes out of the backfield? That would be – he could make a massive upgrade just in blitz pickup.
Yeah, see, I am 100% aligned with you on that. I just wonder, with that answer, did they sign the right back? He's not really a north to south runner. He has a tendency to bounce the ball outside because of his athleticism, which I'm okay with, but that doesn't fit the mold of what you're talking about. That more fits a different versatile type of running back. This is why we talked about it already. Derrick Henry. He would have been a perfect fit for exactly what you just said. Or Josh Jacobs. I love Josh Jacobs. Now we're going to play him week 1 in Green Bay. And I think he's going to fit that offense great. I think he's going to make Jordan Love's life a lot easier down there. But I don't know. I'm optimistic on Barkley, but I will say with the style of quarterback we have, because he's a playmaker, because he's a +1 in the running game, what's it look like? Like, was he the right guy to go with? I'm okay with spending the money on the running back. That's not my issue. I wonder if we got the right guy to do that. Maybe they're going to use him a different way. I don't know. But if they use him how you just explained, technically that's really not Saquon's game.
Well,
some of it is.
First couple years,
third down impact is, but first and second down, when you need a north to south guy to go and get you 4 yards or 5 yards and set up the pass, set up the play action, shorten the yardage. I don't see that with him that much.
Okay, how about this one too? If God forbid he gets hurt, you're with Gainwell and Shipley. Those are your backs. That would cripple that offense.
Depending on how they use Saquon, though.
What's that?
Depending on how they use Saquon, the way they use Saquon will determine how big of a drop that is. Because if they're passing the ball to Saquon a lot, I think Gainwell will do all right in that role. Not as good, obviously. He's not the talent of Barkley, but he can catch the football well and effectively. He was a running back or a wide receiver at Memphis. But if he's going to be the bell cow third down, yeah, you're in trouble if Kenny Gainwell is your lead guy. No doubt about it.
Couple last ones here on defense. What I'm hearing is you're right. They're going to be in a lot of 4 and 5 front with the bear look. That 5, that's what bear looks like. They got Dean penciled in here.
Yeah, I pushed that, but I said that on this morning's show. It sounds like the organization, I don't know who that means. That might mean Howie. That might mean, I don't know what that typically means. It sounds like the organization still has Nakobe Dean penciled in. But at what point, remember, you have a new coordinator who's calling defense. Brand new. He doesn't care who you drafted 3 years ago. Vic Fangio wants to have a good defense. At what point does the benefit of now, I'm looking at Devin White and Zach Bond play my defense. I'm looking at them be effective, and it's just practice. But Nakobe's not out there. At what point is he Wally pipped, where he doesn't play his way out of the position? He's just not on the field, man. Like, if you're not on the field, the coach isn't thinking about you. So I think the organization still wants Nakobe Dean. I'm just curious, like, how many more practices, how much more of training camp, how much more of the offseason is Nakobe Dean not going to be available?
I think the exhibition games are going to determine it.
Because then I wonder, is Zach Bond going to win that spot? Sounds like he's playing pretty good. Yeah. I know it's just helmets and shorts, but it sounds like he's doing what Vic wants him to do. So we'll see.
Here's another one here. Bradbury's going to camp. He's going to camp. You had to have your 90-man roster set by June 1. He's going to camp.
All right, and what's your
what's
your hook? Like, is it because they want to move him? They're going to wait? Is it because they want to use him in the
I don't know. I don't have an answer here with this.
Yeah, this is a weird one because I really think that
it's only 4-3 against your cap now after June 1. So you could have whacked him for less than $5 million versus prior to that at 11.
Yeah, and it seems like they're
I'm just not getting it.
Pry people for a 6th rounder, which I don't get.
No one's giving.
But this is where that Slay question I asked you last week comes into play. Like, if Bradbury is still here, I almost wonder if it's more worth it to keep Bradbury in the Fangio system, move on from Slay, and elevate your young guys. They're not going to do that. I know they're not going to do that. But
one guy's 33, going to be 34. Turn of the calendar too.
Bradbury buys you a few years. Bradbury's 30.
Yeah. That's a huge difference.
Now, he wasn't the player Slay was last year, but I think Bradbury has a better year in a Fangio system if he has the opportunity.
Okay, here's another tough question. So, are you going to start Mitchell over Keely Ringo?
No. Not if he's not showing it. Not if he's not showing it. You want to get your young guys on the field, I get, but you got to win football games. This is the NFL, man. You don't just show up because you got drafted in round 1 and play. Ask Nolan Smith how that's working out for him. If Keely Ringo, which it sounds like, is playing that good, and Isaiah Rodgers, a guy who has NFL pedigree and has played at a high level already in the NFL, are going to force Quinyon to not be on the field, then so be it. I want to have the best defense on the field. I want to have the best players on the field. Here's where I'll say, though. Are they playing for 24 or are they playing for 25?
They're
playing for
planning.
24.
They're
right
planning for 25.
Because if you're playing for 25,
you're planning for 25. Planning.
Right.
You're playing for 24. So they're trying to get their cake and eat it.
Yeah, because the one thing that I think Twiz.
That's why Bradbury's still on the roster.
Twiz, I think it's you who's always in the chat. Who's out here who's saying, rip this Band-Aid off. Like, if you're going to go with an all young guy approach, you got to get them on the field and get them on the field now. So you have a chance in 25. If these guys are if you lose Slay and Bradbury next year and Quinyon hasn't seen the field yet, you're in trouble.
I think it's an umbilical cord. Get away from it.
Yeah.
End it.
That's where I wonder, though, if they need to put him on the field. Like if you're going to live life without Darius Slay and without James Bradbury a year from today, you better hope. You need Quinyon Mitchell to have reps, like a significant amount of them, because he's going to be your cornerback one. I don't know. I mean, that's where I'm like, I don't want to go with that many young guys in the cornerback position, but I do see the upside. Imagine if you have Isaiah Rodgers, Keely Ringo, and Quinyon Mitchell playing cornerback this year. They have some growing pains. They're young players. That's okay. But and then you come in a year next year with 3 bona fide cornerbacks.
Can't be any worse than 31st last year, dude.
I know.
And you still won 11 games.
That is such a good point. That is such a good point.
Why have Bradbury and Slay starting when you were 31st? Put the younger guys out there. And if you finish 31st and win 11 games, what's the difference?
Yeah. Yeah, see, that's a different question than what you asked me about Quinyon Mitchell. Yeah. Quinyon Mitchell, should he jump Keely Ringo just on pedigree? No. But if you're going to talk about should we rip the Band-Aid off, like this guy says right here, they're going to make mistakes. That's okay. They're young football players.
I agree.
Especially at that position. That's a tough position,
Toughest position on the field to play.
Exactly. You got it. That's the hardest position probably to play in football. But boy, how good would that defense look going into next year? I mean, we're excited about it this year. Imagine if you have 3 guys returning who are all under 20. I guess they'll be under 27. Isaiah will be 27 at that point. But Keely Ringo's 22.
You got Cooper DeJean in the slot.
And you got Cooper DeJean in the slot. That's a nasty looking defense with experience now. Now, I don't want to go there because that means you're playing for 25.
Can't start the young guys with this edge rush. A lot of issues on that side of the ball.
Another good point by Bald Eagle, though.
Hey, one real quick one here. Now, I'm not going to use Jalen Hurts. If you had to pick an offensive MVP, preseason favorite, who would be your guy?
A.J. Brown.
Defensively?
This is a much tougher question. Jalen Carter. I'm going to go Jalen Carter. He makes that defense. Jalen Carter gets pressure. If Jalen Carter plays defensive tackle at a high position, everybody will look better. Whether they're playing better or not, they will look better. Their jobs will be easier because the quarterback will be under pressure. So Jalen Carter, to me, has the chance to be the defensive MVP of the team.
You know who mine is on defense?
Devin White?
Isaiah Rodgers.
Interesting. Where do you have him slotted? 2? Outside?
I have him playing the outside on the other side of Slay.
Okay.
I think he starts.
So you have Quinyon on the bench, and you have Keely and Quinyon as your outside corner backups, and then Cooper DeJean as your backup slot?
You might even put Quinyon Mitchell in the slot. I might even put him in there. They tried him out a little bit.
Yeah,
during the camps.
I read that. Yep, I saw that.
So
over Cooper? You think over Cooper?
I think they play both of them. Maybe they can rotate them all, get them some experience, and then one of those guys ends up beating out. And then get this, Mitchell takes over for Slay.
How much do you think the business of the NFL will impact Isaiah Rodgers' ability to get on the field? And what I mean by that is he's battling all Howie's guys. Howie drafted all the guys. Keely Ringo drafted. Cooper DeJean drafted. Quinyon Mitchell drafted.
I think
Isaiah Rodgers brought in off waivers for $1 million
and
Trumps per year.
I think Vic Fangio trumps this stuff.
Yeah, I do too. Good point.
I think if it's more in the offense, I think if it's more in the offense, and remember something too, these guys aren't making a ton of money on that defensive side of the ball we're talking about. When you're talking about money over on that other side, playing one guy over another guy who's making $20 to $15 million, That's a big conversation you have to have with your front office guys. You think when Belichick went up to fucking Kraft and went like this, hey, I'm going to play Brady, the 6th rounder, over a guy you just gave $118 million to and an $18 million signing bonus to Bledsoe. He had to go up there and explain why he's doing it. That's a bigger decision.
That's true.
When you got money on the line versus guys. Now, look, the equity of the draft pick is a big deal too. That's Howie's room, and that's his sandbox.
That's what I'm saying. That's where I wonder. That's where I wonder about
Isaiah.
Isaiah.
Doug got kicked to the road.
So have a look at this, though, right? Have a look at this. Isaiah Rodgers, Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, Sidney Brown. Every single one of those players, well, not Rodgers, but I think they'll get the deal done, is going to be under contract for next season.
Yeah.
Now you got no rentals. You got your young guys getting reps early. They might be able to figure it out by second half of the year.
I think if you want to play those guys, Xander, your front 4 and your front 7 have to perform for you to play like that.
I know.
You can't have
now I'm stuck on what you said. They were 31st last year. How much worse are you going to get? How much worse? 1? You're gonna drop a spot?
32?
Okay.
So you're gonna go to 32?
Yeah, you're gonna go to 32? All right, I'll take it. But when I got my young guys,
win 11 games.
What's that?
And still win 11 games.
You might still with the offense.
All
That's
right,
a young defense, though. And it's hard because Vic Fangio's system is very communication heavy. My sleeper, though, for the whole cornerback room is Keely Ringo. I think Keely Ringo, I think he is the most talent of all the young guys in that room.
And my MVP on offense is going to be Cam Jurgens.
Sills, 2 good picks.
Because he's taken over for maybe the most important person that's not on that offense this year.
Absolutely.
And I don't think it's going to be as much of a drop as people think it is. I think I have him really high on him because you know what I heard? Clint said that this guy is really a good ball player. He's a really good ball player, and Kelsey's exceptionally high on him.
Clint would know. Clint played defensive end or defensive tackle at a high level.
Yeah, he thinks he goes, hey, it may be more, it's going to be more cerebral in picking blitzes up. But
yeah, and the other thing to note about Cam Jurgens is, I don't know if you caught what Jeff Stoutland said about him. He's like, when I put him at guard last year, yeah, I had questions. At center, I got no questions. He's a center. He's a real center. That's what Jeff Stoutland said. And then Jeff Stoutland went on to say how good he was at guard. But he said, beginning of last year, yeah, if you asked me how he was going to be at guard, I would have said, I don't know.
And he was a Pro Bowl alternate.
He was a Pro Bowl alternate at guard. So he's clearly shown he's got the physicality to play at a high level in the NFL. Plus, he's a natural center. I don't think we're going to have much drop off at center, which is boy, would that be incredible, Dan? See, that's where,
but not surprising. But not
that's
surprising.
what I'm going to force you on this show, though. I'm going to force you, and you're going to hate it. I'm going to force you to give Howie his flowers. If you go from Jason Kelsey to Cam Jurgens, and Cam Jurgens can be what you're expecting, come on, man. That is a flower.
Jeff Stoutland picked that kid along with Kelsey.
Howie Roseman used the draft pick on him. He had to be willing to use the draft pick on him. Howie Roseman's making the final decisions on those draft picks. Come on, you know how big of an ego Howie has. He's not letting another man pick his draft picks.
Andre Dillard, keep it up, buddy.
All right, you're gonna have misses, man. You're gonna have misses. It's the NFL. Nobody's drafting perfect.
Andre Dillard,
Devontae Smith, Landon Dickerson, Cam Jurgens, Jalen Carter, Keely Ringo, Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, Sidney Brown.
All right, I gotta go, Xander.
Hey, listen, man, I'm not a Howie. Like I like Howie more than you, but I don't praise him for everything. That's something you got to give him credit for. He's turned around the look of his draft picks in recent years. He really has. There's some that are still out there though, too.
Well, we'll see on defense if those guys. We'll see how Nolan plays, and we'll see how Nakobe plays.
I'm not going to overreact to Nakobe Dino. He was a third-round pick. Third-round picks miss.
Thank you. Okay.
Flexing. Wait, Flex. Before I go,
he took a shot at me because he knew I was a third rounder.
Before I go, though, I got to ask Flex. I got to ask Flex before I go. He says, fuck Howie. Who are you going to go to? If you move on from Howie Roseman, who are you going to hire to be the GM of the Eagles?
Easy. Julian Laurie.
Yeah. The scary part is that will probably be it. Maybe Julian will be all right. We got to give him a
Great
chance.
stuff, man. You keep killing it on Birds 365. Thank you so much, my friend. We look forward to you doing it tomorrow. We'll talk to you tomorrow at 3:30. By the way, where are we in the likes, my friend?
We'll pull them up. 145. Good number right now.
All right, folks. Good. We're trying to get to 200 by the end of the program. Gary Cobb, bottom of the hour. Keep it here, National Football Show.
If you missed any of today's show on the JAKIB Media channel, listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on three. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Heading down the shore. Have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wildwood day.
Plan your stay in the Wildwoods today.
Hi, I'm Jim Muehlbronner, Managing Partner at Del Val Insurance Group. Give us a call. We're a local, knowledgeable agency, not an 800 number. Go Birds!
The greatest fans on earth. It's a bold statement, but would you expect anything less from Philadelphia? 58 years of heartache creates a toughness, a grit, a resolve not found in most. Sure, our prayers were answered, but now that we've had a taste, we're looking for more. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Big Sills National Football Show. Gary Cobb, bottom of the hour. We will be efforting our good friend, as we always do each and every single Monday at 4:30 Eastern Time from Fox 29 in Philadelphia. So the Detroit Lions were penalized for contact and for excessive practicing, something that you'll never, ever have a problem with a Nick Sirianni training camp. Bad taste in their mouths. That NFC championship game. I got to hand it to them. Remember I told you that there were going to be teams that were going to be penalized because they were going to take these OTAs and their mini camps a little bit more serious. The Lions are taking their OTAs and their mini camps more serious than a lot of teams. Love that. And I think it resembles the coach's personality, Dan Campbell. Dan Campbell and the Lions were penalized because of excessive practicing and excessive contact. And I'll tell you exactly what that means. There must have been a lot of pass rushing, because when you're pass rushing, and before I bring Gary Cobb on, when Gary pass rushes in helmets and shorts, he'll tell you flat out, there's no difference when you're pass rushing in helmets and shorts versus being in equipment, because you're going all out at one another. Now, when you're playing 11 on 11, that's where your equipment matters. But when you're doing pass protection, dude, I'm running at an offensive tackle, whether I've got pads on or not. I don't care. Detroit was penalized. That's something you're never going to have to worry about, like I said, with a Sirianni camp. People practicing too hard, because that resembles the coach in Detroit. They got that bad taste in their mouth from that NFC title game. And I think Detroit's going to be a handful this year. That being said, let's bring in our dear friend, man who played 10-plus years in the National Football League, our friend Gary Cobb. Gary, am I right when I say that? Hey, man, when you're doing pass protection, whether you got shoulders and pads on or not, when you and I are in drills like that, I don't really give a shit if I'm in full gear or not. I'm coming after you there.
That's right.
And that tells you a little bit about the mentality they got going on up there in Detroit.
Well, he the coach up there, he definitely has that personality, and you could just see it because I went up. See, I played 6 years in Detroit, so I went up there last year. It's the first time I've been back there for one of the alumni weekends, and I'm considering going up there this year too, because you can see they got something there. They're going to be a team in the hunt, and the big thing about it is they got a coach that's a fighter, and he's looking for fighters of his team, and he tells it, hey, we're going to be fighters. We're going out. We're going to compete. Now, I thought he cost them last year, with what I thought with some of the decisions he made. But the thing about it is, I don't think he's going to be making any apologies. He's not that kind of guy, and he is a guy that claws and scraps. That's the kind of player he was. And that's the kind of coach he is. And, he's honest about it. So I think the guys, when they know that their coach, this is who their coach is, they like him. The guy's a competitor.
I saw something in the chat over here that made me want to address this with you. Would you rather have the face of the Philadelphia Eagle defense be a player, or would you have it rather be Vic Fangio?
Well, I can't say that the players ultimately got to go out there and get the job done. I mean, whatever the coach, the coach could be great and everything, but they still got to go out there and get the job done. But Fangio, I can't say, I haven't talked to him that much, so I don't know him. I can't say that I know him. I think it probably should be a player when it comes down to it, because the players have to make the plays and everything. But I would have no problem with it being him. I would have no problem with that.
Gary, do you think those Eagle defenses back in the day were the face of Jim Johnson, or do you think it was the face of the players that Jim Johnson played for, like Hugh Douglas?
Well, I thought the players. They had some guys with some strong personalities, like Hugh. So I thought it was the players. The people that are really close to the game and everything, of course, they know about the coaches. But the fans, it's broader, where, of course, they know about all the players, and being close to the Eagles, of course, I know Jim Johnson and the importance he was and everything. But the players got to go out and get it done, though. Still, I mean, even if you're drawing up, you're in the right defense and everything, players have to go out and make the plays. So I don't think you ever can really get away from that. The players, ultimately, they got to be the ones that execute what the coach draws up. So I always lean on the players, even though the coaching part is very important. There's no doubt about that. But ultimately, still, the players have to make the plays. You could have a great coach. Come on, great coaches If they don't have great players, come on, you've seen great coaches stink up the place. They don't have great players, but great players can sometimes cover for a bad coach.
Absolutely. Gary, we got a question here for you. Gary, how will the no drop tackle rule affect tackling? And will it benefit the Birds? Or I'll add one here. Will it hurt the Birds not having that drop tackle no longer part of the game?
Well, now this is the thing, and I guess it's kind of fitting that it would be right around where we're talking about coaching, because this is coaching, where coaches got to make sure, look, this is not going to beat us. I want you guys to be disciplined, and they got to be talking about it so that guys that have made a habit of tackling like that, they got to know they can't do it anymore, and I'd have to say coaches got to emphasize it, because they don't really do much tackling in practice.
Right.
So the guy's got to go in the game and have it in his head, because they just don't do very much anymore. So I imagine they're going to do some work. I'm trying to remember who they got coming in here. They got somebody coming. I don't know.
I think the Patriots. I think it's the Patriots.
Yeah, I think it is the Patriots. Yeah, they got the Patriots coming in here. So they'll get some work, a little work in it, but they're not going to do very much live drills. They don't do that anymore. So the coach, Vic Fangio, is going to have to emphasize it over and over. He's got to start it now. I imagine he's been talking about it already, because that's something that, because you don't get a lot of, live work, you just got to talk it. And it's got to be something that everybody's been talking about, to the point to where it sinks in because it was emphasized so much. But, most of these guys, they don't play much during the preseason.
Absolutely. No.
When are they going to do it? They're not going to tackle at practice. They're not going to play in the preseason. They just got to emphasize it. Vic Fangio's got to emphasize it in his meetings.
Absolutely. Gary, I want to throw this at you here, because, again, the New York Jets are getting hammered this week, because tomorrow is going to be mandatory minicamp for the Jets, and Reddick may or may not be there. And he has been holding out of all of these OTAs. So the problem now that you're having in New York, with the New York media jumping on Joe Douglas, general manager, who has relationships, obviously, with Howie and Philly, is that how could you make a trade for a guy? Did you think him just driving up 95 was going to change the problems of the agent and the player and his contract issues that he had with Philly? Now those contract issues are in New York, and you made a deal for that guy, and that guy may not be eligible. So at the end of the day, Gary, maybe Howie read the room right and said, I had a lot of issues last year in that locker room. Mm-hmm. Let me just do this. Let me move on from it. As talented as the player is, it surely looks like his agent has misread this entire opportunity here, because there was no offer by Philly, and there's been no offer to this point by the Jets. How are you reading this now?
Well, definitely it's bad. I mean, it's not good, because with all the new money in the NFL, the fact that they wouldn't offer to him, they obviously weren't playing, and the agent misread it.
Yeah.
Because, agent come back and tell you, no, they're going to give you your money. Okay, then he's believing that. But so far, I mean, with all the money flowing out there, nobody's moved. So they obviously aren't kidding. And I know he wouldn't not be looking forward, because eventually he's going to have to go up there then.
Yeah.
Come on, you got to go up there and get your money. 14, 50, whatever, however many million, he's got to go up there and get it.
And supposedly you're going to be fined $35 million or $35,000 a practice if you miss these OTAs. You're talking in excess of nearly $130 million. If you miss these hey, that's one thing, but $14.5 million.
I know.
Sorry, dude, I ain't missing out on that.
Come on, he's got to go get his money. I mean, ultimately, they know he's got to come. They know. Come on, they know he's not going to leave $14 million sitting on the table. Come on, you got to be kidding. So, I don't believe in agent abuse. But he needs to go over that. Maybe, obviously, he misread the situation.
Because
and then it's not over yet. So who knows? Maybe the Jets, maybe they cave at some point.
No way. I'm with you. I don't see this thing revolving.
I mean, we've been talking about some bad agent moves with the last couple of weeks. Huh? When we talking about somebody else did some stupid, cost a guy a bunch of money. I mean,
Devontae.
Yeah, Devontae. Yeah, you're right. Man, you feel bad because football's not like basketball and baseball where you're gonna play for 20 years anyway. You got to get your money.
He's gonna lose. Devontae Smith. I looked it up, and people have told me he's gonna lose in a span of nearly 3.5 years. Once his contract comes to a maturity, he's gonna lose in excess of $74 million. If the market continues to roll the way it is, he'll lose $74 million because he wants to play in Philly.
Woo! Well, I would say stay tuned.
Hey, the Eagles have shown a propensity, though, if a kid plays and plays big,
that's right,
that they'll right the ship and make that thing right.
That's right. That's
right.
I will give Howie credit. He has done that. And, the thing is, Smitty's a good kid. That's why you feel bad about it. He's not like some kid, whatever, somebody, let's say they're a smart aleck that act like they know everything and all the time. And, a troublemaker. Smitty, he's a good kid. When he says something, he means it. He's a team player. He's not a prima donna. The kid is a professional. And you feel bad for him, leaving money on the table like that because, most of the time you don't get that second time around.
Absolutely, man. You don't get it. Gary, I got to ask you this.
I feel bad for him.
I got to ask you this one here. Do you believe that Jalen Hurts can have a great season if the quarterback and head coach are not on the same page? Last week was a tad bit embarrassing, I think, for the head coach that the player had an opportunity, as you and I said. I've never seen a baseball or a wiffle ball more teed up in my life than what Jalen Hurts had to knock it out of the park for his coach, and he refused to. Do you think you can have a coach and player not on the same page and you be successful and your team be successful if that dynamic is not intact?
I've seen it. I mean, you have to have. I don't know that I see that happening. If that's not the case here, but even though Kellen Moore is the guy running the offense, but Jalen to me is not that kind of guy. He's not a out on his own type of guy. He's the kind of guy that is going to thrive, I think, in harmonious conditions. So I am somewhat surprised that, and maybe he just misspoke or whatever. Because I don't see him as the kind of guy that really does much where he goes out on his own or anything. And he usually, he's going to say everything he needs to say about the coach and praise him and all that, because, he's, I've seen him do it for players who maybe weren't playing that well. And he would give the guy a pat and everything. And that's pretty much the way he does the news conference. He's not looking where he's trying to say something and everything. So I kind of think that might get cleaned up in the future. I think that I really do, because I don't see him as the kind of guy that's want to do anything where he's trying to come across as that he's not happy about somebody. I don't think he's going to say anything. If he's not happy about somebody, I don't think Jalen is going to intentionally really say anything.
How about this one, Gary? Couple last questions here for you. Kelee Ringo has been the star of this offseason. Now, look, I know you're in pajamas.
He looks good. He's looked good out there. You're right.
Okay. So if you're Howie in the organization and you know how they take preferential treatment with draft picks versus guys who are taken later, do you believe Mitchell starts or do you believe Kelee Ringo? Because what do you do with Kelee Ringo here? And here's another one to add into that dynamic. It's June 10th. You had to set your 90-man roster by June 1st. that means Bradbury's going to camp.
Yeah.
He's going to camp. So
yeah, that's not a surprise.
How are we looking at this dynamic in the secondary? And you got a 33-year-old corner on the other side in Slay.
Well, from what I saw out there at camp, Ringo was getting up pretty much all of the he was doing a lot of, he was the number one guy. Ringo was in there. And then when they went to nickel, they had Mitchell playing inside. When they started playing some nickel,
they
had
put him
Mitchell
in the slot?
working, and he was working pretty most of all the time last week. He was working inside on the nickel, meaning
so he was in the slot.
He was in the slot. Yeah, he was in there. That's what they had him doing. So, because Ringo, Kid Ringo's playing. He's playing great. I mean, he's not getting beat deep. He's got great size. See, he's really bigger. Ringo is big. I mean, he's bigger than Mitchell, and he's been playing well. I thought Mitchell played well, but Ringo, and Rogers was playing. Isaiah, he was playing well too. So right now, I think Ringo played well enough. I don't see how they can just take that job from him. If he continues playing the way he is, because nobody really did anything on his side. He's playing very, very well. And the thing about it is he got great size and speed and everything. And he had an outstanding camp. All the reps that I saw in they had an opportunity, number of times almost get deep on Mitchell. I mean, so he didn't play as well as Ringo. Ringo was, he was clearly one of the best corners out there.
Gary, we have been talking about this finally here. Last year the pass defense was 31st. Well, how much worse are you going to possibly be if you did this? Let's just move off of Slay and Bradbury, and let's play the younger guys. So, Gary, they won 11 games, and they were 31st last year. What are they going to be, 32nd and win 10 games? Why not just cut the umbilical cord and start playing the younger players back there? You've invested all these draft picks.
Mm-hmm.
When do you cut the umbilical cord and go, okay, Kansas City did it a couple years ago. I get it. Mahomes affords you that ability to do that.
Yeah.
But still, when do you get to that point where you go, got to start playing the young guys?
Well, you know what? If I were to go by how they played in the mini camp, I would say that they could do that, because that's how many of those kids look good. But it was just a mini camp.
I get it.
I don't want to get too worked up, but they had the corners look good. But at the same time, the Eagles making changes on their offense, and Jalen took the heat for a lot of this. But see, they were changing things in their offense, really, and they need to change them, because people were running their routes last year. Okay, they were the offense, the coaching. It was not creative. And, there's times Jalen looked downfield and nobody was open, because they had shown everything and they were telegraphing it, whatever. Anyway, everybody knew what they were doing. They are giving the wide receivers, and AJ said this in an interview, they are giving the wide receivers, and for that matter, so did Devontae. They've got a lot more freedom in their route running, meaning they want them to be at a certain place at a certain time in that play, because that's when he's going to throw the ball. But the way they get there, they're giving the wide receiver the freedom to show different things. See, so it's so that somebody can't look at the tape and go, okay, we can see what they're doing. We know the route they're getting ready to run, blah, blah. It's going to be very difficult for teams to do that, because they've given them the freedom to, show different looks and do different things, but be where they're supposed to be at the end of the route. That's the main thing. Now, they've been doing it. So this has been a change. They're changing things. And that's why the offense struggled, because, Jalen was getting used to that. See, he hadn't been around that. That's something new. And so this is something that's been, a change. And I could see that he was getting used to it. knowing where the guys are going to be. And even sometimes where he might have thrown the ball, he thought the guy was going to be here. And so, they're going to have to continue to work together to get this thing ironed out. But it's going to be good in the long run because it's going to show all kind of looks. So teams are going to be very difficult for them to see, oh, he's running this route, he's running that route. And they're letting them even alter maybe their alignment a little bit, different things like that, giving them freedom to show a lot of different looks. So it's very hard for the defenses to know what they're going to do. But, of course, Jalen's got to know what they're going to do, where they're going to be at the same time. And they struggled a little bit. But see, they're making these adjustments. That's why, somebody out there doesn't know it. Come on. Every time, I'm standing there, I'm kind of listening to what they're saying because Jalen's coming over there and they're very close to us. And he's talking to the wide receivers. So they're talking through it, that, hey, maybe you can show this, maybe you can do this, but I need you to be there at this time. You got to be there and have run that route so I know where you're going to be and everything. But that's an adjustment. And so because of that, the offense was not sizzling like if they had just done everything they've been doing, but they still look good. And AJ Brown, man, the dude looks like he's ready to go right in the middle of the season.
Was that more of a product also of the other kids with high performances on the other side too?
The defense played well. Yeah, the defense was playing well. And really you can see Fangio, you see his hands on the defense. They are talking through the routes.
Great.
Passing routes from one guy to the other. You can see they've gotten better at that already. And the way he's got them working on that, where they are more of a sound defense. Last year, people run routes. Guys are open all over the place. I mean, I can hardly look at the game. I mean, I'm just, man, somebody going to cover somebody. But, and there was no talking. You're going like, they come out in certain formation. You got to be talking to the guy next to you. Hey, this guy's coming in here. We can see it. He's coming. Whatever, you're talking. Last year, there wasn't very much talking. They run a combination route. The guy's wide open. Nobody's talking. Well, that's not the case now. They are talking through everything. And with experienced guys like Devin White, see, he's been on top. He was on top of his game. He knows he's got to get ready to go. So he showed up ready. Crowder's a smart kid. You can see he's talking through things. So they had all the middle linebackers. These guys are talking, Howard Bone, whatever he's doing, he played well. So the whole defense in the secondary, they look a lot better than last year. And they haven't even worked that much because they're talking through routes. Everybody coming to the line. Guys are communicating. And it's playing a lot smarter football than they were playing last year. I'll tell you, I was saying, glad we're not going to see into that mess that we saw last year, man.
Absolutely, man. Fox 29, Gary Cobb out there covering the Eagles, man.
Woo!
I appreciate you doing it. Hey, by the way, ready for this? We're 50 days because they're getting a week earlier because of that game in Brazil. They're going to start camp on the 22nd. So we're 50 days. That's a month and a week to the start of training camp. And we are officially like 85 days to the opener. So,
wow, man.
Man, hey, Gary, I remember we used to get 6-7 months off, man. It was all good. Now you're 50 days. You and me would be panicking. Am I in shape? Do I need to run more?
I know the one thing you're gonna be is out running, making sure.
Yeah.
Ready for that,
ready for that heat, let me throw this at you. How many times 50 days out will you get up in the middle of the night and run at 11:30 at night just to put some time in, man, and go like this? Hey, I think I need to get my ass out there running a little bit more.
No, I did mine in the morning. All my stuff was early in the morning. I was getting out of that bed and everything, and
maybe I'm just ODC. I'm one of those kind of crazy guys because I'd wake up in the middle of the night, go like this. I'm not in good enough shape. And my wife's going
I might do some lifting. See, I might do some lifting late though.
Yeah.
Going down there, man. I got it. You know what? I'm going to, and get on the treadmill or something. But I like to run in the morning, when it was, just something about the morning. I like to run then, man. And I remember, boy, doing those gases and all that stuff, man.
Dude, no doubt. 16-110s. Hey, Gary, thank you, my friend.
All right, buddy.
Have
a good one.
Gary Cobb, Fox 29. Yes, indeed, Mark. You're right. 50 days is a month and 3 weeks out. Wow. That's how close we are around the corner here. I saw something with DFW. DFW, here's your problem with your team compared to the Eagles. It's true AJ got his money. But Devontae is done for taking that contract. Yes, he is. Players only have so long to make so much money as they can. Eagles organization was laughing at him for taking that shitty deal. You can't begrudge the Eagles for cutting a deal with a kid and trying to get the money in his pocket sooner. But I will say this, DFW. Here's the problem, though. Do they pay the players in Philly too soon? Yes. Okay? Yes. I think they do. The quarterback, I think A.J. Brown actually deserved it. Devontae, with that fifth-year option, probably hosed them. But here's where they win. They give the players the money up front. They keep the cap number down. You guys can't keep the cap number down. And you wait to the very end to overpay your guys. Look at the positions you're in now. Are you going to pay $60 million for Dak? Are you going to pay $35 million for Michael Parsons? Are you going to pay $40 million for CD? You waited until the end. You're going to pay high dollar salaries for every single one of these guys. Whereas the Eagles, they pay market value. And to some extent, look at this already. Devontae Smith's deal is already below market value. Jalen Hurts' contract's below market value. Every single one of your big three, the money, all of that is going to be top end, which means you're going to be top heavy in your cap. Think about what you're going to do. This is the problem that you have with the Cowboys. Check this out. $60 million, Dak. $35 million, Michael Parsons. Another 40 potentially with CD. Last year, the salary cap was $225 million. In 3 players, the Cowboys will play $135 million. In 3 players. How do you build a team when you only have $90 million left? How are you building your team? With rookies? Devontae is better. Devontae is a better we than the money he got. He panicked and took the lesser deal. He did. Eagles organization doesn't care about him. He's just a body for them. This is where I completely disagree. You know why I do? Because they did give him 55 up front. Okay? The Eagles do something that no organization does. You know how they entice you? Think about it. Yale, am I right with this? The Eagles don't entice you with a contract. They entice you with the upfront money. Damn. Do I want that $55 million in my bank now? Guaranteed. And then you give me that phony-ass Tyreek Hill money. Or Tyreek Hill's got $60 million in the final year, which he'll never get. See, that money up front, they give it to you. But at a lower rate, so they can keep a cap number down. That's totally the secret to the Eagles here. Okay? Why do you continue to compare Smith's contract to number 1 wide receivers? You don't think Devontae Smith would be a number 1 wide receiver if he wasn't playing with A.J. Brown? A.J. Brown's one of the top 3 wide receivers in the National Football League. Get this. On 95% of the teams, Devontae Smith's the number 1 receiver. Let me say this to you. How about this, guys? If Devontae Smith played in Green Bay, would he be the number 1 wideout? Would he be the number one wideout if Devontae Smith played in Green Bay? What up, MG? So in Green Bay, Devontae Smith would be number one. Okay. Here's one even better. Niner all day. If Devontae Smith was in San Francisco, would he be the number one wide receiver over Ayuk and Debo? Debo's a different kind of breed of wideout. They play him in multiple positions. 1,000 yards is not the deal with him. 900 yards receiving, 400 yards rushing, jet sweeps, shit like that. He's different. Don't you think he'd be the number one wide receiver in San Francisco? I think he'd be number one. I think he'd be a battle with number one. Ayuk's not bad, but I think Smith's better. I don't think he'd be number one wide out in Los Angeles with the Rams. I think he'd be number one wide receiver in LA with the Chargers. I think he'd be number one wide receiver in New York with the Jets, the Jags. How about this one? Guys, if Devontae Smith was in Kansas City, would he be the number one wide receiver in Kansas City? So the last two Super Bowl opponents, Kansas City and San Francisco, Devontae Smith would be the number one wide receiver for both those teams. Not so easy in San Fran, but it'd be close. KC totally would be. So when you say that, why are you comparing him to number one? Because in 96% of the league, he's the number one wide receiver. That's why the Eagles gave him $25 million. It's because they know that if he were to go in the open market, get this, they got a wide receiver that's in the same room as many of the players that are at the top end of their salaries in the NFL wide receiver. They got them at a discount. That's an absolute hometown discount. It's a total hometown discount in what he got and what he gave Philly. By the way, it's on the player and the agent. Don't feel bad for Devontae Smith. This is about the Eagles winning. By the way, if you think that I'm hammering Howie for taking advantage of the player and the agent, well, the same could be said for Howie not wanting to be taken advantage by Hassan Reddick's agent and Hassan Reddick, the player. Do you understand? It goes both ways. Howie didn't like what they were trying to accomplish by trying to set a market. Remember what's the guy, Mike Florio, was saying that agents were floating numbers out and false contract offers and false contract numbers out to try to expand a market of a particular group, like receiver, running back, O-line. And they were not true numbers, and they were false. Many of the agents set false markets. Florio was saying that. Well, that's what Reddick's people were doing. They were setting false markets. Howie went, that's not the market for that guy. He's been asked to leave Carolina and Arizona. You know, they didn't, like I said, they didn't make a trade for him. I think there's more to it now. I think the agent, in my opinion, I don't think it was so much Hassan, because I heard Hassan say, I want to stay here. I got business dealings. I went to Temple. I think the agent and Howie could have got into it here because they shipped them out and didn't give a shit. And now that same headache is in New York. Okay? That headache's in New York with the Jets now. I lost Smitty before he took a little less to say in Philly. I dig him more now. But he didn't get that hosed. Oh, he got hosed. 18.4 as an average over that whole 5 years because of the fifth-year option. And the other guys are making 32. He got jobbed. He got jobbed out of a ton of money. He's playing for almost half what the rest of these guys are playing for. So, okay, he got murdered in that deal. But that's not on the Eagles. They offered him 18. I didn't hear they offered him any. I heard they offered him nothing. Okay, Gardner Johnson too. I agree with you. All right, Xander, where are we now in the likes list? Trying to get to 200, my friends. Where are we in the likes list? We're going to look at the Week 8 opponent, the Cincinnati Bengals, next. 170, outstanding. Guys, we're 30 away. We're going to look at the Bengals next. We're going to look at some of the teams that you guys are going to be playing coming up here. The Bengals are the next team up, and I'm going to give you my takeaway on the Cincinnati Bengals, that football team. We're also going to take a look at and reset a little bit of what went down and transpired this past week. Thank you, Slagger, very much. Hit the like button. Keep it here, National Football Show.
If you missed any of today's show on the JAKIB Media channel, listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Heading down the shore. Have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wildwood day.
Plan your stay in the Wildwoods today.
Hi, I'm Jim Muehlbronner, Managing Partner at Del Valle Insurance Group. Give us a call. We're a local, knowledgeable agency, not an 800 number. Go Birds!
The greatest fans on earth. It's a bold statement, but would you expect anything less from Philadelphia? 58 years of heartache creates a toughness, a grit, a resolve not found in most. Sure, our prayers were answered, but now that we've had a taste, we're looking for more. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Big Sills National Football Show. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Please hit the like button. We're going to look at the Bengals here in a minute. Can you have a great system at quarterback if your quarterback and your head coach and your coordinator are new and the coach and that player are not on the same page? Is there too much to overcome there? Now follow me again. Your head coach, isn't it funny? A lot of people in the media, this is one of the things that I'll say about John McMullen. He struggles with this and he stumbles over this a bit when asked the question about his relationship with Nick. I think that that's a touchy situation. You know how I know? And this is not on John, because I think everyone else over there struggles with it. And I'm talking media people. I think they stumble over this question because they know how sensitive it is. Because they're told it's sensitive. I think that's a sensitive issue. So, can you have a new coordinator and that dynamic in the room and think Hurts is going to develop? Do you? Do you think you can develop your quarterback with that dynamic? I think the media had it all wrong the whole time. Reddick declared a coup d'etat on the coaching staff and why the season tanked. You're not, Jody, blaming that meltdown on Hassan Reddick. How about Hurts' ineptness at quarterback? What does he have to do with anything? Second and turnovers. He had nothing to do with second and turnovers. Nothing to do with that. His quarterback play was terrible. Hassan Reddick had nothing to do with that. Yale goes, they lose, they'll start asking that. Dak has had plenty of weapons over the years, and he still shrivels up in the playoffs. Not worth top money. But what's your next move then? Shakur Sanders? Is that who you think is going to come into Dallas and save the day? I think he's a bust. He seems to me like a terrible teammate. What are the odds that D plays better than the O? You better hope that doesn't happen, Sal. You spend all that money over there, and if that defense shows up and outplays the offense, something happened. And that you ain't going far if that happens. That offense has to excel and be the number. See, this is what kills me. I asked you guys this question this last week. You're expecting this offense to be number one in the NFL, aren't you? You're expecting that, right? Dude, you can't be top 8. Pay $180 million for your offense. You can't be. Hey, Eagle fan, before Deion Sanders is declared some sort of superstar coach in Division I, you might want to win more than 4 games. You know, before you start telling your players where to play, you might want to win more than 4 games. Let's find out first. See, I think he's all glitz and no context. There was a part of me that kind of liked it. Got to win ball games, dude. Let's see what happens. I may be wrong. They may go on and win 10 ball games this year. I don't see it. I don't think you can win in college football with free agency. He doesn't get this. Let me ask you something too, Eagle fan. Deion Sanders doesn't leave Boulder to recruit. He does it over Zoom. He doesn't put the footwork in. Nick Saban left his home. Nick Saban would go on the road in his Cadillac and he would drive across the country, stopping at kids' homes. And he was recruiting kids, walking into their homes, recruiting parents. You see, you don't recruit the kid. You recruit the parents. Why you're going to dump your kid off for the next 4 years out of school. Why it's you. Okay? The kid doesn't know shit. He's 18. What did I know? Every week I had a different girlfriend. Syracuse, Ohio State, OU, SMU. What did I know? I didn't know any of that, Pitt. I had no idea. I had a girlfriend every week. Oh, my God, this was a great recruiting trip. You going here? Yeah. It promised me Jim Brown's number. No, they didn't. They did. Shit, I tell my friends that. My friends call me a liar. promised me 44 in Syracuse. You ain't getting 44. If you were in Dallas, you would understand more of what Dallas is doing, where Dak signed last year or this year. It was going to be 55 plus million a year. I know how that operation works, DFW. Nothing's changed in 30 years. Nothing's changed. Jerry's the same guy. DFW, let me show you why it hasn't changed. You still want triplets. You do everything in your power to try to emulate that, whether it's Dez or Zeke or Tony Romo or Dak or Pollard or CD. You're always trying to emulate what Jimmy did with the triplets. The game is different today. Centerpiece can't be your running back like that unless he's a dual threat back. Can't be. Okay, the money's not the issue. You're right, it's not the issue. It's the way you construct your team is the issue. You're not versatile enough. Thanks, Sills, for not drinking the Sanders juice because you want to be cool with him and his friends. I love Deion Sanders. I really do. But I'm not buying that whole thing up there. I think it's all show and no context. I'm not bought in like the media, and I'm not going to crown somebody a great coach because he has the name of Deion Sanders. Do you know how many African-American coaches deserve the opportunity to be a head coach of college football that don't have any of that shit? Tons of them. And they don't get the opportunity, and if they do, they get the shittiest jobs on the planet, then they fire them. That doesn't help African-American coaching. Deion Sanders does not help it because that's Hollywood. Deion Sanders does not help minority coaches. That does not help them. Okay? It just doesn't. The guy in Notre Dame helps minority coaching. I think he's doing a whale of a job at Notre Dame. A black coach at Notre Dame, tell you what, in my lifetime, I'm glad to see a couple things. Ty Willingham getting the job back in the day at Notre Dame, and Tubby Smith getting the job at Kentucky basketball. That, to me, were groundbreaking. Not Deion Sanders getting the Colorado job because the media loves it. Rappers delight. What's that got to do with winning games? It's got nothing to do with winning games. And if you criticize it, you're a racist. It's like pulling for Caitlyn Clark. That whole thing went polar and nuclear over the weekend into like a racist conversation. Blacks are saying why she doesn't belong on the team, and whites are trying to defend her. When at the end of the day, it's about promoting your league. It's not about white or black, but it is. Remember I told you guys this? There's nothing wrong selling white athletes to help foster a predominantly black sport. Why can't you say that? I can't believe our country can't have that kind of conversation because you're afraid. It's crazy. She's white. She's good. So sell it. 20,000 fans showed up in D.C. That's all I need to know. I don't give a shit if she's orange. A team normally plays in front of 4,200 fans, played in front of 24,000 fans. Get this, black and white racism is real. Sell it. NBA did. Sell it. There's nothing wrong with saying that. There's nothing wrong with saying she's white. More white eyes and more white advertisers are going to come to the WNBA. So, and by the way, if that's white privilege, 24,000, I'll take it in bunches and a six-pack of it. And if I'm the black players in the WNBA, I'll take a case of it. Because then they get to see me and they go, wow, Aji's awesome. I can't understand why we have to be so divided like that. Hey, You know why strip clubs are there? Do you know why there's strip clubs and there's porn? Because men are weak. Take advantage of it. Porn and strip clubs. Take advantage of them. Sell it. There's nothing wrong with that. Well, you know, you're glorifying sex. Who cares? Who cares? Dino Babers won more at Syracuse than Sanders. Yeah, and he shit the bed totally at the end. But, yeah, he had 1 10-win season, and I actually liked him. I really did. Take advantage of strip clubs and porn? They do. Every time you walk in, you leave with no money in your pocket. Okay? Sex sales, baby. Absolutely. Caitlyn isn't the first bring light to the WNBA. It was around here or Angel for there. It's good to see Caitlyn as a face of it. Hey, Forrest, here's my problem with it. The players that are currently in the WNBA right now had 28 years to expand the league. Shitty salaries, shitty exposure. It's been a sieve on losing money all these years. Now, all of a sudden, you get a golden nugget in the golden goose to help you raise the visibility of it. And you could have put her on a bigger stage, and you refuse to do it because of whatever, jealousy, pride, racism, whatever, all of it maybe. And you don't see, and you can't see the clarity of it. You're looking at the micro of it instead of the macro of it. It just doesn't make sense. If I knew that I could put somebody on my football team that could help get the visibility of my team, was he the greatest player? No. Like I told you guys this before. Here's something to think about. Larry Bird did not belong on the Dream Team. He never practiced. He never played. But they put him on for one reason. What was that? His name. And if you look at Luka and Joker, don't they and haven't they been influenced by Bird's play? They're not vertical players. They pass the ball. They shoot the ball. They play a lot like Larry Bird. Larry's influence internationally was on display mostly with the European players. That's why he was on the Dream Team. Nobody that comes from Europe plays like Jordan. Nobody plays like Jordan from Europe. I've never seen a player from Europe play like Jordan, including Tony Parker. Surely was a Manu Ginobili. Now I know he's South America. I get it. Argentina. But none of those European players or foreign players play like Michael Jordan. They play like Larry Bird. Okay? I mean, and there's your influence. But Bird didn't belong on that team. Still the exposure and expanding the logo, European-wise, that's why Europeans are going to dominate the NBA draft. You can't even name a player who's going to go in the top 10 picks. Oh, and here's another one. Explain this to me. And this is where it went black and white, and I hate it. By the way, we're going to get to the Bengals here in a minute. Week 8 opponent of the Eagles. So let me get this right. The Lakers star LeBron James is going to get his son, Bronny James, drafted in the first round of this upcoming NBA's draft. He's clearly not worthy of an NBA player or prospect. He averaged 2 points a game at USC. And you're trying to tell me that guy deserves to be in the NBA draft? But because he's LeBron's kid, and it makes the game a nice story, LeBron playing with his son, they're going to compromise a kid getting drafted in the first round for LeBron James's kid, Bronny, who doesn't deserve to be drafted in the first round. What's the difference? On Clark being on an Olympic team. She's actually good. I love the hypocrisy and how the racial lines start to get divided. Oh, it's okay for LeBron, right? and his kid, who has no right to be in the draft. But because he's LeBron's kid, it's cool. Clark, who could change the face of some advertisers for the league and help them more, she's too white. Personally, I'll make this point to you. I think the black players in the WNBA, I think they resent that there's a white face being the league's face of the league. That's my take. Just like they resented it when Bird was for a bit until Magic took it from him. Magic took it from him. And I think some of those players have a problem. I don't blame them. You know why? You know why? When you're a black athlete in America and you had to fight for as long as you did for your place in the landscape of sports, and you see some white chick roll in like that, you got to be a little ass bit from it. I don't blame them. It's a really tough position. I wouldn't want to be her. Dude, I don't know. You tell me. Who do you think had more pressure coming into their professional sport? Bryce Harper, who was called the chosen one? And same thing with LeBron James or Caitlyn. These three guys have had, I've never seen anything like it, the hatred for all three of them. Remember they used to, who talked shit on Bryce Harper in the dugout? Was that Papelbon that did that? Who was talking shit to Bryce Harper? Somebody was talking shit because he was wearing gold shoes or something when he was in Washington. Was that Papelbon that did? I forget. It was somebody that was talking shit to Bryce Harper because he had those. Remember, he used to wear those gold cleats. Papelbon choked him. You know why? Because he couldn't handle that Bryce Harper was such a young superstar. 17 years old, he's on the cover of Sports Illustrated. And because he was actually freaking good, Papelbon couldn't handle it. That's right, Papelbon choked him. For what? Because he brought a personality to baseball that they don't have? See, baseball and their panties got bent. I mean, look at LeBron. LeBron's faced it his entire life. No doubt about it. Harper was kind of a clown early in his career. He was. He brought it on himself a little bit with the big noise. Okay, then I saw him play every day and completely changed my... Dude, he is one of the absolutely greatest baseball players I've ever seen. And he's been like that since he was 16, 15 years old. Insane great. And I mean, I think he was in Vegas. I don't know if he went to Bishop Gorman, but I saw him in Vegas and he was like 14 years old. Insanity. You thought he was playing for the Expos, or excuse me, you thought he was playing for like the Angels, and he was 14 years old. I'd never seen anything like it. Best young prospect since A-Rod. Jealousy is a motherfucker. They kicking her ass on the court, hard fouls, hard screens. She gets her ass right up, hit in half court. It's incredible. Hey, did you see what she said too? I really loved what Caitlyn Clark said when she was asked yesterday. By the way, Christine Brennan, who's been on this program, has been covering the story. She's been telling me what's been going on. Loved her answer. Hey, what did you think about not being on the Olympic team? And I'm paraphrasing. She's like, I'm going to be rooting for every one of those girls. It came down to a really close decision. I'm not on it. Makes me harder. Makes me fight harder. Hey, you know what? She probably does need a mental break. She probably does. But boy, I'll tell you what, nothing but class. She's doing everything in her power to promote the WNBA, and the WNBA was not prepared for her. Do you watch UFC, MMA? Yeah, I do, Sal. I watch a lot of MMA. My wife is a fanatic on MMA. Absolutely. The WNBA was not prepared for her fame. They were not prepared. They didn't realize that it was Tiger Woods, Mike Tyson. There's been very few. Guys, do me a favor. Tell me who have been the needle movers. in the last 30 years. It's not LeBron. He's not moved ratings. Tiger, Tyson, Jordan, Caitlyn Clark. Get this. Bob says Brady. I don't think so. The NBA or the NFL ratings went up a year ago 11% without Brady. Okay? Mahomes, I don't think any NFL player. I don't think Angel Reese moves the meter whatsoever except for this. You know, if I were her too, Joshua, I'm going to give you a story, Joshua. Then we're going to go on to the Bengals. I'm going to give you a story, what Angel Reese should do, and if I were her. Years ago, maybe a little bit of Otani. Get this. Years ago, I used to go to Vegas all the time to cover fights. My shows would go there. De La Hoya's people, Golden Boy, MGM, all those places would fly my show out, and I would do a 3-day remote live from the MGM Grand. I used to do it all the time. I went to Tyson fights. I went to Lennox Lewis fights. But the guy that I became friends with was Floyd Mayweather. And Floyd Mayweather told me something years and years ago. We're sitting in the green room and we're getting ready to do an interview. And he's sitting there with me and he had lined it up. And he's a complex dude. But I asked him, I go, tell me something. How are you now the biggest money earner in boxing history? And this is off the record. He gave me his cell phone, just like this. He had one account at the time because he had too many people around him that were stealing money. So he put all his money in an account. And I heard his balance was $149 million in a regular 3% checking account. I said, this is crazy. Why do you do this? He goes, it's the only way I can keep an eye on my money because there's too many people that are out trying to rob me. I said, well, how did you generate all this wealth? He goes, I realized one thing at the beginning. I was never going to be Oscar De La Hoya. I was never going to be, everyone loved De La Hoya then. Everybody. He was the golden boy. Everyone loved him. He was the baby face. So you know what he told me? He became a heel. So much to the point where he not only won that belt of being undefeated, he won the money belt. This guy made more money than any boxer in boxing history because he was the heel. And he accepted that role. If I'm Angel Reese, I accept that role. That's what I would do. I would accept that role. Be the heel. Be the antithesis of her. And you have a rivalry going. That would be must-watch television. Angel Reese versus Caitlyn Clark. You should promote it. You should exasperate it. You should do everything in your power to allow the shit talking to go on. Turn it into a WWE scenario. You'll make millions. Don't tame it. Nurture it. That's how you create villains. Cowboys and Indians. That's how I would sell that. That's how I'd sell it. Okay? I'd sell it that way. Because Angel Reese is not going to move the meter by herself, but she can move the meter being the bad person on the other side of Caitlyn Clark. And she's good. She's good. I actually enjoy watching her play. Yeah, Conor McGregor's one. He's another guy that moves the needle. He surely does. Conor McGregor moves the needle. Okay? What they're doing to Caitlyn Clark is the same thing they did with Jordan in the 80s. Yeah, you mean like early when they holding him back a little bit, not putting him on the all-star teams, first team, all that. They did that shit to him. Jordan told you many times, especially in his induction speech, he was talking how shitty they treated him. Agreed. Real quick, let's reset and then we'll get to the Bengals. By the way, I'll be watching that game tonight with Caitlyn Clark. I saw her drop 30 Saturday night. Conor McGregor was spectacular. He was. And I love the Nate Diaz fights. Somebody asked me in here if I watch UFC. Personally, I watched the Nate Diaz and Conor McGregor fight this past weekend. I think it was 2. I don't really, now watching it again, I'm not sure Nate didn't beat him. I'm not sure. Hey, did he really, Ricky? Dan Hurley turned down the Lakers. Is that true, Ricky? Is that true, Dan Hurley turned down the Lakers? Hey, Chris, Angel Reese, she's got some punch. I'm not saying she doesn't. Hurley turned down $70 million. Wow. Wow, Dan Hurley turned down the Lakers. What a joke. Hey, you watch them go right after Jay Wright now. Dude, Jay Wright looks like LA. I remember I told you this. What was it? How many months ago, Xander, did I say this? A month ago? I said if I were the Lakers, I'd back up the Brinks truck and go get Jay Wright's ass and bring him to Los Angeles. He fits LA. He looks LA. I'd go get Jay Wright in a minute. God, would he look good out there in LA. When you got guys like Jalen Brunson in the league and you see what those guys are doing up in New York, and that's the kind of player he's looking for, I want Jay Wright as my coach. I'd take Jay Wright over Dan Hurley any day as my coach. I would do that in a minute. I think Jay Wright's a better coach. I think he's a better coach, man. All right. So let's take a look at the Bengals. This is hey, Yale, will you do me a favor or somebody in here? Sal goes, who do you got? McGregor or Chandler? Sal, here's the problem with McGregor. He's not a grappler. And if you get him on the ground, you can beat him. You got to get him on the ground. Conor McGregor is a striker. So anybody that gets him on the ground, you can beat him. That's what Khabib destroyed him on the ground. He had no shot, and he knew that. That's the one thing Nate Diaz didn't do, was get him on the ground. To beat Conor McGregor, and you could beat him handily, in my opinion, is get his ass on the ground because he's just not a grappler. If you're going to get in there and you're going to strike with him, there's a chance you can get beat because he's a pretty good boxer. And he's a good strike guy. Okay? He is. But when it comes to him grappling, Khabib destroyed him on the ground. Just a fantastic grappler. Probably the greatest of all time. Anderson Silva, probably the greatest up and down guy. But Khabib was just sensational. Hey, I'm going to smash you, boy. I'm going to smash you, boy. One of the greatest lines of all time. Hey, I'm going to smash you, boy. He did. Khabib would maul people. I don't know what, I don't know what Conor McGregor was thinking when he was thinking he was going to get on the ground with him. He's one of the greatest grapplers in the history of the sport. John Jones is the best ever. You think better than St. Pierre? St. Pierre, Khabib, Anderson Silva. He's undefeated. He's never lost. Dana thinks he's the best. Love the UFC. Would love to see it on the show. Sal, we could get Tito on. Tito's a friend of mine. We could do Tito. We've had a couple UFC guys on. I forget. We've had a couple on. I used to get them on my radio show all the time. Royce Gracie is just absolutely one of the greatest MMA fighters to ever live. They got a gym in Tampa. I've met the family there, Kimberly. Just insanity how great that family is. I know that they now got some of the grandkids and the kids now that are working in the business now, but whew. So it's one of the best music entertainers was Freddie Mercury. Yeah, for sure. And songwriter. Gracie was a problem. He put you, yeah, but he was such a great grappler too. Ken Shamrock's a friend. Follows me on Twitter. We communicate a lot. He was another legendary guy. Frank Mir is a friend of mine. I know those men very well. Yeah, I like combat sports. If I was younger back in the day, you know, my wife said that I would have killed that because I was a really good amateur wrestler. I was 62-2. And I was really good at it. And funny, my last 2 matches, I was destroyed in the New Englands by guys who were in their 30s who went on to the Olympics. Like, well, this ain't for me. That's why I got recruited by Dan Gable. I got a picture of me and Coach Gable when he was at Iowa, or when he came to visit me in San Diego. Coach Gable came and visited me, and I got a picture of that with Dan Gable. And Dan recruited me to go wrestle at Iowa as a heavyweight wrestling guy, and he thought I could win the NCAAs. Let me see here. Sileo Gable. Let's see if I still have that picture. Dan Gable was like 161 and one. There's me with Coach. That's me with Dan Gable. He invited me to an event. We went to dinner. He recruited me 2 years in a row to go to Iowa and wrestle for the Iowa wrestling team, who in the process at the time was they won 10 straight national champions. And he wanted me to wrestle on the Iowa wrestling team. And a guy named, I forget the coach up there, who was the coach of the football team, said I could do both. I always wonder if I should have went to Iowa and wrestled for the greatest coach in the history of college wrestling. So I was very close to going to Iowa. And I've always wondered if I should have went and wrestled for Coach Gable. Won a gold medal. I think he got beat in his final match, something crazy. Brock Lesnar, man, he was an NCAA heavyweight wrestling champion too. I think he did that at Minnesota. Minnesota had some really great ones. Really good ones, man. All right. The Bengals. Let's move on to this. How good are the Bengals going to be? It's definitely transitions to football. Yeah. Hey, Sal, you see the kid up at Buffalo right now, the two-time champion? That the two-time heavyweight champions up there in Buffalo trying for a workout up there with the Bills. I'm going to be interested to see how he does up there. The kid that won all them championships, the heavyweight wrestler, that's up there with he's up there with the Bills now. He's playing DT, yeah. Kid is a great, I think if he doesn't make it there, he's going to go WWE, I think. Or maybe even UFC. Me, I'd go WWE. Dan, have you heard of the rat technique Navy SEALs use? Navy SEALs use it. I haven't. And I know Duncan Smith, he's the head of the SEALs down at Miramar. I'll ask him about that, the rat technique. I don't know what that is. Okay, get to Burrow. Okay, how good do you think this Bengals team is going to be? How good? AFC North is tough. Whew. Look at those teams in that division. Absolutely. Dude, all 4 of those teams could make it to the playoffs. All 4 can make it to the playoffs. Okay? He was lazy in WWE. That could be like Jordan Mailata, move for the Bills. Yes. 11-6. If Burrow's healthy, they'll win 10. Seals, please let us know what that green jersey is behind you. Oh, I showed it. I showed it last week. That's Mark Gastineau's signed jersey he gave me. And it's the New York Stock Exchange. All guys signed it for me. This was last week. I showed this. Klecko, Abdul Salam, Lions, and Gastineau. But Jets, I know. I got 2 Jets jerseys. Bengals. They're going to go as far as Joe Namath Burrow. No doubt about it. Vegas has them right now as an over 10.5 win team. I don't think the schedule's crazy. I think they get out of the gate real nice. I think they got Kansas City early in the schedule, though. So KC's early in the schedule, and Kansas City's beat them 2 times in a row. Burrow's been up and down because of the health issues there with that Cincinnati team, but he has beaten him. Their offensive line, for whatever reason, Duke Tobin and that organization is still struggling. Get this. Here's something here. You got a guy in Joe Burrow, and you got a guy in Jeff Stoutland. Man, if I were the Bengals, I would go after Jeff Stoutland with everything I possibly had to get him to be my offensive line coach in Cincinnati. My God, if that guy to me, if I had one of these big-time quarterbacks, I would do everything in my power. The Bengals had the Eagles number. We'll see. This is week 8. They play them. I would do everything in my power to go get Jeff Stoutland. And if I had like Josh Allen, Trevor Lawrence, any of these guys, I would go after him and I would do everything in my power to sign that guy, because look at the job and look at what you have too with Micaiah Becton going, I really didn't want to go anywhere else. I wanted to play for Jeff Stoutland. And you're sitting there listening to this guy say this shit, and you're like, damn. And the Bengals can't get one O-lineman right. How do you have a $55 million quarterback and you can't get one guy right? Dude, I would trade T. Higgins to an organization, and you know what I would do? I go after an O-lineman or somebody. Like, trade him to the Bucks for Tristan Wills. I don't think the Bucks would do it. Like, what's more valuable? Let me ask you this. What's more valuable? Who's the most valuable person, do you think, in the offensive huddle in San Francisco? Who's the most valuable player in the offense? I agree with you, Flexen. I think it's Trent Williams. Trent Williams is out. That team looks like shit, including with McCaffrey. You take him out, it's Trent Williams. Hell, when the Eagles don't have Lane in, they don't have a very good winning record. I mean, these offensive linemen, in my opinion, are more valuable than those wideouts. Hey, do you notice one thing? Think about something, Greasy. How many offensive tackles that are premium and premier tackles do you ever see traded or cut or moved? I see wide receivers, these big-time guys, they're constantly on the move. You don't see O-linemen on the move. You know why? Because the NFL values that position more than wide receivers. Because they pay them the same. Trent Williams makes $30 million. I mean, you got to remember, and there's two of them guys on each side. That's a great question. Jason Peters, Trent Williams. I hate that question. Lane is not better than Jason Peters and Trent Williams. It's not true. And Lane's a Hall of Famer. But these guys are first ballot. Just to show you how fucked up that whole thing is. Trent Williams is 42, and they're still asking him to play. John Runyon, I don't know what happened to John Runyon's kid. John Runyon was another great player, but not in that room with those two men. You take Lane all day, he's a right tackle. And at the end of the day, Lane is not as good as a left Trent Williams. Trent Williams is the best offensive tackle in the game. As a matter of fact, Pro Football Focus has Jordan Mailata now even ranked ahead of him, Lane. And Trent's still number one, and he's 36 or 35 now. Trent, you see Trent beat a lot, huh? He's a first ballot Hall of Famer. Lane didn't give up shit playing right tackle. He better not. By a small Peters by a small because of his size. He's a little bigger. He's a big dude, man. Probably Jason Peters, not by a lot. Both are first ballot. When I turn in my questionnaire to the 50 Hall of Fame voters, Lane will be a second or third ballot. Trent Williams and Jason Peters are first ballot Hall of Famers. Kelsey's a first ballot. I always thought Tony Baselli was a first ballot, but he had 9 years in, and it always hurt him. Okay, let me finish up here. I get Burrow and Herbert as my early favorites to win the Most Valuable Player Award because of coaching. I think Zach Taylor's done a phenomenal job with him. Been to 2 AFC championship games. When healthy, again, there's the issue. Joe Burrow's been the second best quarterback in pro football. It's not really close. Who do you think the Eagles will start at O-line? Well, it'll be Mailata, Landon, Juergens, Tyler Steen, and Lane. That's a great group. Probably the third best line in the NFL. I go Detroit, Cleveland, and then the Eagles. But again, you're talking about if you flipped any one of those three, put the Eagles one, Detroit. I think Detroit has the better group because their bookends are great and their center is now the best center in the sport. Okay? He's the best center in the sport. Again with Burrow. Well, Burrow is been to 2 AFC title games. And he's the second best player at that position in the league. He's actually beaten Mahomes. So I think Justin Herbert's going to have a renaissance finally with a coach instead of Brandon Staley. Kansas City's line is in that top 5. Okay, he is. And the Niners did demolish. That's right. The Bengals demolished the Niners last year. Okay, they did. He killed them. Joe Burrow, man, really good look. He's really a great player. I mean, if anybody has the Brady look and how they play from the pocket, it's him. It's him. Seals, I can't wait to Becton in that line. Boy, man, I'll tell you what, if he can just take to that right guard position, man, if they put him in there, that'd be the biggest offensive line I've ever seen. It'd be the biggest offensive line. Forrest, I think Joe Burrow is Joe Namath. Stay healthy, they're going to win. He doesn't, the Bengals suck. Now, Jake Browning, they gave him a contract extension because he played so well. Yeah, I mean, I thought the kid from University of Washington, I was actually shocked how good he looked. Yeah, that's right. Becton's got to be healthy. What if the Eagles played the Bengals instead of Kansas City? In that Super Bowl 22, 23? I think they beat I think they beat the Bengals. I think they beat them because Zach Taylor is no Andy Reid, and Spags is not on the other side. I think there's just great coaching in Kansas City, along with, and plus, that's right, you had a team at 70 sacks and a subpar O-line versus that Eagle team. I think the Eagles would have won that game. I think the Eagles would have won it. Seals, do you think Howie trades for Judon? I don't understand why New England doesn't want to pay him. I don't get why they don't want to. I think Jamar Chase is going to have a monster season if Burrow's healthy this year. I say this team wins 12 ball games and wins home field advantage. There's no way in the world Kansas City's winning 3 in a row. I'm betting against that. I know. You're betting against Mahomes and Reed? Yep. Because it'll be unprecedented. It'll be the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life. Team go to 3 straight Super Bowls and win them. I've never seen it. I'm not saying it can't happen. If there's a guy in the league that can make it happen, it's him. But I don't believe it. I just do not. The luck you have to have to win to win 1. Eagles have 1 title in 60 years. You have 1 title in 60 years. They're on the threshold of winning 3 in a row. And the quarterback is a 3-time MVP. I just don't see that. I'm taking the field. No way. All right. Xander, where are we in the like list? I know, crazy, huh, Flexen? 3 in a row? 3 in a row. Where are we in the like list there, Xander? See, we're trying to fight for 2. We're 199. Who will be number 200? Hit the like button. Keep it here, National Football Show.
If you missed any of today's show on the JAKIB Media channel, listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.
field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Heading down the shore. Have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wildwood day.
Plan your stay in the Wildwoods today.
Hi, I'm Jim Muehlbronner, Managing Partner at Del Valle Insurance Group. Give us a call. We're a local, knowledgeable agency, not an 800 number. Go Birds!
The greatest fans on earth. It's a bold statement, but would you expect anything less from Philadelphia? 58 years of heartache creates a toughness, a grit, a resolve not found in most. Sure, our prayers were answered, but now that we've had a taste, we're looking for more. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
EAGLES, Eagles.
You got a ton of depth at DB, but do you have a ton of talent? Is the question in Philly. Do you have a ton of talent? Or are we once again using the word potential? I think that's why Bradbury's still on the team and why he's going to go into training camp, because that question has not been answered yet. And like some say, you can't really answer that question in pajamas. They need depth on D-line. No question about it. Okay? No question about it. I think they need more. Seals, we need more depth in our front seven. Yeah, agreed. Agreed. I completely agree with that assessment. Sue's still training too, Cosmo. Supposedly he's in here. And Taylor, you bring up Avante Maddox. Okay. Well, every day that goes by, you're concerned that this guy didn't get hurt walking out of a Wawa. You know? So well, we'll see. Okay. Well, he's a good football player. But the question will be, do they need look if they have good LBs? I think they need more depth at that position as well, because Dean's not going to cut it. No update on Hurts throwing in his backyard. Okay. All right, guys, I really appreciate it. We got over 200 likes. You got us up near like 220 likes here, man. 220. Way to finish it off. We had 199, and you guys buried it. Way to go, guys. Fantastic stuff to start the week off. Hey, by the way, I want you guys to know something. On our show, unlike the radio shows, there's no downtime. There's no such thing because of you and us every day. Nothing changes. Okay? Just another day in the calendar. Tomorrow's Tuesday. That's how I look at it. Thank you guys so much. Again, we really appreciate it. Joe and Xander, we thank you. 2 to 6 tomorrow, and we shall see you on the flip side.